What is happening out there, Roto Scouts baseball fans? Welcome to a Friday show, gang. You made it. End of your work week. Hope things are going well out there. Big 12-game slate on tap for tonight. I think I just woke Joker up. He just went running out of the room. Lot to talk through, though. Big board up already on the screen here for you guys with the Vegas totals. Lot to go through. A lot of interesting pitching. Some short options, though, down toward the bottom of the board. Little top heavy for sure. Coors Field is in play again today. We saw the D-backs go off last night as the chalk stack of the day for, what was it, 8 runs? D-backs and, Guardians, I think was the optimal combo. 8 for the D-backs, 9 for the Guards. Everything else just kind of fell in the middle. Tigers put up 4. We got our Riley Green home run that we were for the home run pick, but let us down a little bit last night. Didn't quite get where we needed. Had a couple cashers out of the few lineups that I threw in, but nothing crazy. But hopefully you guys found some good results out there. So a couple screenshots along the way. Anthony Taylor's here. Happy Friday to you. Cujo, happy TGIF. Elastic's here. Beyond the Rabbit Hole. Anything crazy going on for the weekend? I think it's going to be a relatively quiet one over here. We had our fun with the show during the week. Yanks are on the road, so no Saturday Yankees game to rush off to. Just going to be here covering slates. Probably spend some time catching up on some football stuff. See about maybe trying to get some projections up. I assume there's a preseason slate this weekend, right? Let's see. What are the preseason slates? Oh, there's 2 games today. Titans, Falcons, Chiefs, Seahawks. Probably not going to get to those. And then there's a bunch of games tomorrow. Depending on how they break this up, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1 o'clock games tomorrow. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 7 o'clock games. Maybe I'll get into some preseason for this slate. I did say that I was going to try and do like one of the slates per week. The first one we started out nice and gentle was a little 2-gamer, I think, or one. Maybe it was even a showdown. It was the showdown for the Hall of Fame game. But need to get on top of things, polish the old model up a little bit, get familiar with some of these down depth chart players anyway. So it'll be good for everybody if I can get around to doing that. We've got some time to do it. So that'll hopefully go up on the website. No promises on that, though. That's bonus content if you get it, right? Like when we do the afternoon slates for baseball or whatever. Tonight, we've got a big 12-game baseball slate. The website is rotoscouts.com. Everybody in the room right now is probably already familiar, but if it's your first time, everything's under $1 a day. MLB, NFL right around the corner, NBA, NHL not too far behind that. No per sport fees. You get behind the paywall for everything. You get access to anything that hits that website. And through the end of August, if you look down the bottom of your screen there, $5 weeklies. So a little bit even further below $1 a day with promo code 5me, like you see it right there. So check that out if you've been planning on joining the site or just seeing what's going on behind the paywall. $5 gets you from now through next week. Not too bad. So let's dig in here, guys. We got a lot to talk through and not all that much time to do it. A little bit of weather, but doesn't look like anything concerning, so we won't harp on it. Just know that there's a little bit of rain lingering in the Minnesota area and in Colorado, and it looks like that Chicago and Royals game, the White Sox-Royals game, is very warm with wind blowing out. Other than that, Roth didn't call anything out on the weather report, so I think we're all good. Texas at Toronto to start things off. Just a 7.5 run total there. It's Jacob deGrom going up against Chris Bassett. 3.78 implied total for Texas. 3.80 on the nose for Toronto. Looking pretty even up. I like one of those pitchers quite a bit better than the other one, but Bassett can be effective from time to time. That is a scuffling, underwhelming Rangers lineup overall. No Adolis Garcia. He's on the IL. Just bad season for Texas. So I do think maybe we could get away with Bassett, and then deGrom just looks like one of the top pitchers on the board. So lean pitching in that one. Wouldn't stun me if either one of those teams had an okay offensive day, though. They're both quality. The Mariners at the Mets, a 9-run total in that one. Sean Manaea on the bump for New York. Luis Castillo on the mound for Seattle. 4.42 implied runs on the Seattle side. 4.68. I think that's going to fall as a kind of 4 quadrants type game, 4 corners game. Manaea would probably be the shortest piece of that for me. Just don't love the short outings. He's run into some runs here and there. It hasn't been the sharpest of seasons. When he's on, he's very, very good. But I don't love his end of it. Mariners bats, Mets bats, I can get behind. Luis Castillo, I can get behind a little bit. He's kind of rounded into form over a recent stretch after scuffling his way through the first half of the season. So I'm a little bit more interested there, but very challenged by those Mets bats, obviously. The Marlins with Sandy Alcantara on the mound going up against the Red Sox in Fenway, pushing a 4.78 implied total toward Boston. Not looking too appealing there. Rough season in his return for Sandy. 6.55 ERA with a 4.53 xFIP, not finding form all that frequently. Think we can look at some Red Sox bats there. He's, of course, on the board. He does give you depth, if nothing else. Still capable of going out there and eating 7 innings for you. Lucas Giolito answering back for the Red Sox. Might take a look at some Marlins bats against. Hopefully a little contrarian there with some of those upside young bats. Giolito has had a couple spots. 2 starts back, went 8 against Houston. 1-run game, 4 strikeouts and a walk. Allowed a solo home run, but that was it. 3 hits. 4 earned runs on 5 hits over just 4 2/3 against the Padres. The one after that. It's been that kind of year. Couple good ones, couple bad ones. And the bad ones are more than just a bump in the road bad. They're a solid handful of runs kind of bad. So I think a little back and forth between Giolito and the Marlins. Hurston Waldrep making his 3rd appearance for the Braves, 2nd full start. Last time out, went 6 against that Miami squad. Just 1 earned run on 4 hits, struck out 6, walked 1. Top-end prospect, looking on form, looking really good. Went 5 2/3. It was a bulk relief appearance against the Reds at Cincinnati, the first one. 5 2/3 though, and faced 22 hitters, gave up 1 earned run on 3 hits, struck out 4, walked 2. So some tremendous performance there. I like the option going up against a limited Guardians team. There are obviously a couple good bats in there, a couple of guys who are fantastic at limiting strikeouts and a little bit of power. But Waldrop's got the stuff. I think he can make it through. Joey Cantillo on the mound answering back against the Braves. 4.36 implied, 4.26. 4.23 implied total for the Braves, 4.36 for the Guardians. Cantillo's been useful in spots for strikeouts. I don't think he's off the board, but he might not be as appealing as it might have been on a shorter slate. 5 2/3 in each of his last 2 starts. Only 3 strikeouts last time out against the White Sox was kind of a disappointment. Had a 9 strikeout game the start before that against the Twins, but gave up 4 earned runs on 6 hits in 5 2/3. There's a lot of bad with the good in there. The Orioles and the Astros. It's Brendan Young against Framber Valdez. Framber is the top of the board today. 3.08 implied total for Baltimore. Kind of speaks for itself. Framber's excellent when he's on form. Keeps the ball in the yard, if nothing else. 4.53 implied total on the Astros side. Definitely considering some Astros bats going back the other way. A very gettable Aaron Savali on the mound for the White Sox, going up against the Royals, pushing one of the higher implied totals on the slate at a 5.17 implied for Kansas City. Definitely considering some Royals bats. They fall in between. They land around the median a lot as far as expectations, but Savali's been so gettable in a lot of spots this year, and there's a lot of upside bats. They're so low strikeout, a lot of high contact options in that Royals lineup. They're quality DFS options, so I really like that spot. Feel like they might get a little popular, though. The White Sox on the other side going against Noah Cameron. Nothing special there. Cameron goes back and forth with depth, but is giving you mostly into the 6th inning in most of his starts. There were a couple shorter ones in there. Every now and then we get like the 5-inning performance. 3 starts back against Cleveland, 5 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 6 strikeouts, and a walk out of the game after 5. Most recently, 5 2/3. One before in between those two was a 6 1/3. He had that stretch of pitching into the 7th inning, or completing the 6th anyway, and pitching into the 7th in his first 4 starts. And then the 5th start, he completed the 6th, didn't pitch in the 7th. But just solid option for depth, which has its value. The Tigers have Charlie Morton on the mound, going up against a diminished but still maybe dangerous Twins team. Charlie on the right day can be very, very good still. The old man still got it, but there have been a lot of wrong days along the way this year as well. So not a safe spot, but a playable spot, I would say, with Charlie. 4.58 implied total, I think, speaks to that for the Twins. And then it's Pearson Ole on the mound, pushing a 5+ implied total toward the Tigers, and a lot of power showing for the Tigers. Love the upside for Detroit again today. I think we go right back to the well with Tigers. Luis Gil on the mound for the Yankees, making his 3rd start back. 5 1/3 last time out. I was at that game. 7 strikeout day. Did allow a home run, but only 2 earned on 6 hits. It was a pretty solid day against the Astros. I think he's got similar potential today. Hit and miss kind of a pitcher, but he's been He was good in that one with limiting the walks. The start before that is a good example. Over 3 1/3 against the Marlins, 3 strikeouts, 4 walks in his first start back. If he loses the walk, it can get a little dangerous, but that is a gettable Cardinals lineup, 4.04 implied total. He's got good strikeout stuff, good swing and miss stuff when he's on, so I think we can consider that. And then it's Andre Pallante on the mound for the Cards. Last time out, really ugly downside Pallante against the Cubbies. 6 earned runs on 7 hits, lasted just an inning and 2/3. No strikeouts and a walk, allowed a home run. Similar kind of thing could be in the Cards, but when Pallante's going right, 6-7 innings of low scoring, not zero, but low scoring ball. Not a big strikeout pitcher ever, but capable of keeping the ball in the yard. So a couple of those things can speak to having a decent performance against the Yankees. It's going to come down to price, popularity with him, but not a really appealing starter. Coors Field game, it's Brandon Pfaadt on the mound for the Diamondbacks. We got through in a big way with Erod yesterday. Put up a very nice score. I forget what the exact line was, but I think he was in the 40s on FanDuel. Solid Erod day. We talked about that during the show. We talked about how risky a proposition it was, but how much it could pay off. I think he was in the winning lineup on FanDuel. Brandon Pfaadt has that talent. You're probably dealing with a even larger risk factor there, though. 5.11 implied total for the Rockies. I do think we can draw some Rockies bats, especially the way they hit for power against when he's off. Brandon Pfaadt gives up a ton of power. So I think we're just leaning bats there. He is on the board at least as a super contrarian pitcher, though. And then Tanner Gordon, just kind of another Rockies starter that's just looking like a batting tee out there. 7.04 implied total toward the Diamondbacks. 3 games at the bottom of the board here, kind of interesting. The Angels showing a pretty big total, 5.16 implied total against Jack Perkins. And then it's Yusei Kikuchi on the mound for Los Angeles, pushing nearly a 5 total toward the Athletics. Kikuchi's been good this year as far as limiting home runs, which has been a big hiccup for him over time. The walks come and go. The strikeouts come and go. The quality of performance comes and goes. Big-time roller coaster pitcher. 3.37 ERA this year, but a 4.05 xFIP is very much the true number. The biggest factor in this game, I think, is just this ballpark. This little Sacramento minor league park that the A's play their home games in. I like the offenses on both sides. Jack Perkins may be interesting, though. He's got a decent projection. Kid misses bats in a big way. He's got a 15+% swinging strike rate in the majors this year. Found strikeout throughout in the minors. Converted reliever. This will be his 3rd start. The first one, he only went 3 innings. He gave up 4 earned runs, struck out 4, walked 3 against the Diamondbacks. Faced the Orioles last time out, went 6. So the depth is there. I think he's fully stretched out. 6 is reasonable to expect here. Struck out 5 in that game, walked 1, allowed a homer, 3 earned runs on 3 hits. That's relatively clean with how cheap he is. And there are a lot of strikeouts in that Angels lineup. The other thing, though, is there's a ton of power in that Angels lineup. So I think anything you expect with Perkins, strikeout-wise, probably comes with a little bit of removal of fantasy points via the home run or just the power, the general scoring ability of those Angels in that ballpark. Randy Vasquez on the mound for the Padres going up against Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw, good one in the duel against Max. Actually, the last 2 have been pretty clean. 6 innings apiece, just 1 earned run combined against the Rays and the Blue Jays. 3 strikeouts in one, 4 strikeouts in the other. But it's nice to see him pitching to depth. It's nice to see a couple clean sheets there. I don't know for sure that we want to consider him just because of that against a low strikeout, decent Padres squad. But he's there at the end of the night. Randy Vasquez coming back up from the minors. He made 1 start down in the minors, went 3 innings, did not pitch well. Definitely a target for some Dodgers bats. And then we round things out with Joe Boyle on the mound for the Rays. Limited as far as depth goes. He was pitching in some bulk relief spots and then switched over to making more full starts. 3 1/3, 5 innings, 3 1/3 in the 3 starts he's made since the end of July. Good strikeout pitcher. 2 of those starts, he gave up 4 earned runs in one, 6 runs total, and 6 runs, all of them earned in the other one. So 12 runs total, 10 earned runs in 2 of those 3 starts. In the 5-inning game, which was against the Dodgers, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks, 3 hits, no runs over 5. Not the upside start you're looking for from Boyle there as far as the Ks go, but it's nice to know that he can at least get through a game clean. Pretty risky as far as finding any kind of depth there. And the Giants, even with just a 4.24 implied total, good enough offense to put some runs on top of that. Lendon Roop is making a return for the Giants to round things out. Went 3 innings and gave up 3 runs, 4 strikeouts in a rehab start, and now back on the bump for San Francisco. I wouldn't expect a big pitch count here. I think we're talking about like 3, maybe 4 innings. So what he will do in that stretch is most likely clip the home run power of the Rays. Very good at keeping the ball in the yard by and large. 8 home runs allowed, over 101 in third this year, to 8 home runs to 447 hitters this year. Get back into this part of it. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel as we dive into the pitching board. So you can see, I think that's a fair starting point right in the middle of the board for Jack Perkins. He's 5,900 on DraftKings. 67 on FanDuel. I think you're probably playing with fire on FanDuel between the run downside, the fact that you just don't need to necessarily go in that direction, and the less than likely quality start, let's say. I'm skeptical on FanDuel. At 59 on DraftKings, I think you can absolutely fire at that. I question whether Joe Boyle is a better move. There's similar depth, similar strikeout upside, honestly fairly similar opponents. Joe Boyle getting to pitch in that pitcher's park in San Francisco versus pitching in a minor league park that's allowing the ball to fly out of it probably would be the tiebreaker there. Not safe in either option, but those are 2 primo cheap SP2s on DraftKings. Boyle at 77 on FanDuel, I remain skeptical again for similar reasons. And at the higher price, if I'm going to just take the shot between those 2 guys, maybe I would save the $1,000 and go down to Jack Perkins. That would be the way I would kind of weigh those 2 options against one another toward the end of the night, because they're very similar at these prices. At the top of the board, a couple obvious options. Nice little discount on Fromber. 9,900 on FanDuel. That's a 10,000 plus pitcher, and compared to where DeGrom's at, you're getting a little bit of savings there to face down the Orioles. DeGrom's in a much tougher matchup there. Blue Jays, much better team, lower strikeout than the Orioles. 10-5 on DK, 10-3. You go either direction. Both of them look pretty tremendous today. Kikuchi slots in number 3, and I am not comfortable with that. But you can see how offset everybody else is from these top guys. We have nobody else in the 30s, in the 15s. A couple guys close to it, obviously. But nobody else actually cracked that threshold. So like I said, pretty top heavy as far as this slate. A lot of usable options through here, but top heavy. Kikuchi's been a total roller coaster like usual. You can find major successes with him. That ballpark is dangerous though, especially for if you get the bad version of Kikuchi or even the middle of the road version. I think the ballpark would swing it toward the bad version. 9,600, 8,800, very affordable. The upside is there. Challenging spot to really recommend. Noah Cameron against the White Sox. Again, the depth is really interesting. 9,200, 9,300. If we're just kind of eyeballing 6+ innings against still one of the lower end teams in the sport. Yeah, they've been good against lefties. We got to take that into consideration. But I think Cameron's got some stuff there. Cantillo at 83 at 8,000. Shaky at best. Going to come with some downside there, I think. There are plenty of Ks to go find in that Braves lineup. He's a little bit discounted from some of the other guys in the middle of the board. I think he's playable. Bassett against the Rangers at 85, 84 is in the mix. We're just talking about like getting away from shakier options, kids who we're not totally sure about yet. Well, Chris Bassett, we have a rock solid reputation for. We know what Chris Bassett is. And that's a gettable Rangers squad. So you might pick up, safety is the wrong word, but you know what I mean, I think, in that spot. Luis Hill gives you upside from that range, especially at 75 on DraftKings. That makes him really interesting once you start having that, all right, what are my cheap options conversation. It also probably makes it interesting where, if you're considering I don't fully trust that. That might be the way to go. I think I like that better than those, but it might go that way too. If you wanted to put those two together as a double spend down, at pitcher. I don't think it's nuts. Same thing with like Heel and Charlie Morton. What I don't know that you necessarily want to do, well, it's actually probably okay. Yeah, you could probably go with like a Heel or a Bassett, somebody from this range, and one of the $5,000 upside guys down here. You're getting thin. You've got a perfect on that threading that needle. But I think it is there. Manaea, the Mariners are showing a little bit of upside against. I'm skeptical about the depth of start there. Just been a more vulnerable version of Sean Manaea a lot this year. Don't love that spot, but projects out just fine. There is strikeout stuff there. Charlie Morton against a diminished, but again, still dangerous Twins team. Hitting the board pretty solidly at 84, 82. I think are correct pricing for him. Talked about Boyle. Luis Castillo, a very, very good veteran pitcher. Sliding down the board a little bit, partially on the quality of the Mets lineup, partially on some bumps in the road throughout the year for him. But, a point or two in the other direction, and we're talking about Luis Castillo being third on the board, talent-wise, track record-wise, when we're, obviously not including Clay Kershaw and Sandy Alcantara down here in these forms of them. But I think he would be competitive with those top two if we're just talking about coming into this year. What was their reputation? Who are they? Giolito against Miami. I like the upside of that Miami team. I really do. They've been really frisky. There's some bats that we like quite a bit in that lineup. Even some of the underperformers down the bottom who haven't found their footing yet. Makes it really cheap to get there. I think maybe we're going the other direction on that one, but he's on the board. 88, 85, inoffensively priced. Brendan Pfaadt at 7,000 on DraftKings at course is a conversation, just like Erod was yesterday. There is talent there. I think there's more danger in going to it today than there was yesterday with Erod. At 86 on FanDuel, I don't think you get the discount that you need to play that spot. Just take somebody else. Kershaw against the Pods, I don't really, again, the six inning starts were encouraging, but a low strikeout, pretty good Padres team, 81-77. Big showdown between the two organizations. If you really need it, or if you just want to differentiate, get to a still good pitcher while keeping your lineup maybe a little bit different than the direct line for what everybody else is doing, I think Kershaw is good enough still to serve that purpose at 81, at 77. Waldrop's really interesting at 76, 72. Wouldn't shock me if he outperformed that median pretty nicely. Sandy has been a total mess, 75, 65, but is now getting quite cheap for a guy who could just go out there and throw 7 innings. Even if it's 7 innings, a 3-run ball is a $6,500 SP2 on DraftKings. That kind of plays. Savali, I'm challenged to see the quality, but I do think he's on the board. Same thing with Andre Palante. And then I think we get a little thin. Don't love Brandon Young against Houston. Roop, I don't think we're getting enough innings out of. Ole is just target for Tigers. Bats, Vasquez, and Tanner Gordon, obviously just targets. So we punch out of this board here, and there are many uncomfortable options through this. But I do think we've got usability down to like there. Very skeptical about the ability to succeed for really all three of these guys. But again, at low-end pricing, what will be low ownership, I do think you can mix and match your way through a couple of those. And then we get down to which one of those is the best, and that is a disgusting conversation that I don't want to have, so I don't really know why I brought it up. Let's jump over to the game by game. What you guys got going on out there? Hopefully you guys saw that. Did you see like a big glob of coffee just like dribble out of my mouth? I have nothing to wipe it up with. That's a receipt. Okay, we're back. Great job completely missing my mouth with that sip of coffee. Rangers, Blue Jays, Chris Bassett, Jacob deGrom, 10-3, 10-4 for deGrom. Seems totally reasonable to me. Naylor scratched? All right, we'll get to that. Labs hasn't changed it yet. We'll get there when we get that game up. So deGrom, 27.2% strikeout rate, a 2.86 ERA, a 3.29 xFIP. Maybe not peak Jake deGrom anymore, but that's pretty damn good. Sub 1 whip, 14.3% swinging strike rate. Tremendous option. It's just a challenging lineup. 17.5% strikeout rate for this confirmed version of the Blue Jays. You do have a little help in, actually, not really. The 87 plate appearance guy is actually pushing that rate up 25.3 for Joey Loperfido. Everybody in this lineup is good at limiting strikeouts outside of these two. And you get plenty of power out of Addison Barger. You get a lot this year so far out of Dalton Varsho. He's up to 12 home runs now in 136 plate appearances, 358 ISO. Monster contact this season. He's been a very quality lefty bat in the short number of plate appearances they had him. He hit 18 home runs in 513 plate appearances last year, to put the numbers in perspective. Not a good bat otherwise. A lot of swing and miss in his game. Low end as far as getting on base, doing anything for correlated scoring. But a guy who can definitely finish off a little bit of a rally there with a bunch of guys up here who do get on base pretty effectively. That's a 4-man, 346 on base percentage. So tough matchup for DeGrom. More than talented to pitch his way through it. Absolutely on the board, number 2 projected pitcher. Bassett on the other side, 84-85. 22.1% strikeouts, 4.17 ERA with a 3.76 xFIP. Not bad on as far as walks goes. Very much a Chris Bassett kind of a year. Going up against an underwhelming Rangers team that does still have plenty of talent in it. I think it's a fair spot. If he was more expensive, then we'd probably be warning off of this spot a little bit. I think they got it basically exactly where he ought to be. So very much in play in both directions. Wouldn't stun me if either team had a successful day offensively, but I probably lean slightly pitching, even though these are good offenses against the pitchers. Rangers bats against Bassett. Probably between these two teams, bad as they've been this year, Bassett's the more targetable of these two pitchers. So if somebody walked in your door, kicked down the front door, gun to your head, said, all right, Blue Jays or Rangers, you got to play one of them. You're probably playing the Rangers in that situation. Josh Smith at the top, 38-27. Mix and match quality player across multiple positions. Plays everywhere on FanDuel, third base, outfield on DraftKings, works. 38-27. He's inexpensive. Decent contributions throughout the year. You know, he's a good getting on base, good run scorer, has a little bit of power, has a little bit of speed. Doesn't push those things tremendously. 9 home runs, 9 stolen bases is nothing special, but a capable enough guy. Wyatt Langford, one of their more interesting bats, 16 home runs, 15 stolen bases. I like the look of him in the 2 spot here. 7.52 in the home run model. He's fairly priced on both sides in the outfield. Easy to reach. Solid premium contact numbers. Underperforming that contact throughout the season, though. Just a 173 ISO. You can see it in the 343 xWOBA, and that's true for each of those guys up top. A little bit down here as well. Corey Seager, their star, 47-31. Seems very, very fair to take Corey Seager against Chris Bassett just as an individual. 17 home runs on the board for him, a 201 ISO. Another guy has underperformed overall for what our expectations are, but it's not because he's not hitting the ball well when he connects. It's not because he's like striking out or not walking. He's doing all those things in a big, big way. Getting on base at a 365 clip. Has a 406 xWOB onto the surface, 128 WRC plus on the year. So tremendous despite maybe a dip in back of the baseball card information. Jock Peterson at 23 on both sides. Major power from the left side still. 4 home runs in 190 plate appearances is very difficult to see, but this is one of the premium left-handed hitters, platoon hitters for just home run upside of the last few years against gettable righties. And Chris Bassett for power is a gettable righty. 3.46% home runs this year on 8.4% barrels. When he slips, when he misses, you can drive that ball on the right trajectory and put it into the seats. So Peterson's not off the board, and he's so cheap. Evan Carter at 43-28 is a reasonable idea. 4 home runs, 13 stolen bases, and just 193 chances, a 102 WRC plus. One of the more productive players on this team. That's not really saying that much. If you're just fishing around down here, though, like if you went through those 3 guys and let's say included Jock there, you could go to Carter at 43. You're only at a $3,700 option average. You could go to Semien and keep it right at 37, or you could go to a guy like Rowdy Tellez a couple spots later and bring it down slightly even more. Rowdy has a 15.9% barrel, 47.8% hard hit. We've talked about him a bunch through his 229 plate appearances, not in there regularly, but he's got 13 home runs on the board, a 224 ISO. Looks a lot like Rowdy Tellez to me. He's never been a consistent player, but major power upside from the left side. Semien in between those two hitters at 37, at 28, 13 homers, 11 steals, bad year, inoffensively priced, still usable at second base. We've seen some upside games, but it has been a lost season for Semien. And then two playable pieces down here as well. Josh Young, 35, 26, 11 home runs, and another guy with a just kind of lost season overall, but a lot of talent, still hitting the ball fairly hard. Higgy has pushed his premium contact numbers up in the direction of where he used to be, at least as far as those barrels go. 259, 306, 412. He's been productive. He's up to a 100 WRC plus. 7 home runs on the board. Probably going to finish around 10, like we saw him hit with in 2 seasons, and then spiked up to 17 last year. But a playable piece, especially where you need to play the catcher position. The Blue Jays are diminished as far as where they land on the stacks board, but still definitely dangerous here. It's just such a high-quality team, so low strikeout. They did a great job lengthening this lineup, both through guys just overperforming expectation and then making a couple key moves. But it's a good Blue Jays squad. Nathan Luke's at 41-27, has a 111 WRC+. If you need proof of them being good, I mean, look no further than that. That's an 8-man 126 WRC+. Luke's has been getting on base, setting the table really, really well for the guys that follow. He's also got 10 home runs on the board. A 161 ISO is nothing special, nor is his premium contact, but it's nice to know that he can put the ball into the seats if situation calls for it. More of the table setter, though. Bo Bichette, 5,000 on DraftKings now. Still just 31 on FanDuel. Pretty affordable over there. 294, 336, 463 slash line, a 361 xWOBA, 122 WRC plus. Been a tremendous return to form for Bo Bichette this season. 14.9% strikeout, only 5.6% walk. So all that premium contact is quite frequent. Vladdy Guerrero up to 20 home runs now. We're rolling 300, 397, 496. The big second half is engaged. 13.3% barrel, 51.3% hard hit for the full season. Addison Barger putting up very similar premium contact numbers for 800 cheaper on the DraftKings slate, 400 cheaper on the FanDuel slate. A reasonable alternative. I mean, it's Vladdy Guerrero. You don't want to get away from him. But if you had to, if you could only take one guy and you needed to save the money, Barger's right there. And he's been holding his own this year. 18 home runs in just 371 plate appearances, a 235 ISO. It's a big bat. Varsho, we talked about already. 12 home runs on the board. Major premium contact. Wildly unreliable. A lot of strikeouts. Could be victimized by DeGrom a couple times over. Alejandro Kirk remains 3,000 on DraftKings, where you have to play his position. He is probably the third highest priority Blue Jays hitter if you're going to Blue Jays on DraftKings. Much less so on FanDuel. He's very playable on FanDuel at 27. But on DraftKings, that is a great price if you're going to this team. Not a great spot because of this guy. But if you're going Blue Jays, that's a priority bat. 8.5% barrels, 50.8% hard hits. Excellent slash line this season, 110 WRC plus. He hasn't delivered fully on that premium contact, but it doesn't really matter that much, and we know that it's there. Joey Loperfido, limited for premium contact from maybe what we would expect, but holding down a good slash line so far, over 87 chances, 363, 407, 513, a 161 WRC plus. He's hit 3 homers despite missing premium contact. He's got more to give than this too, 28-25. Interesting bat down lineup if you're going to this team. Ernie Clement, 37-26, multi-position on both sites, including second base. He's up to 9 home runs. We don't really expect the power with Ernie Clement. Look at the premium contact numbers. But he's a very solid hit tool player, 285, 318, 413. He's creating runs. He's setting the table decently. Andres Jimenez, mix and match quality guy at the bottom, 5 homers, 10 steals, and 245 chances this year. DeGrom, Bassett, but it's a lot closer. Then Rangers bats, Blue Jays bats in that order. All right, now we got this one. And they updated the lineup. Perfect. All right, so as was pointed out in the chat a moment ago, we just went from that lineup to this lineup for the Mariners. Naylor scratched. John saying, what's more likely, Powerball winner or Jock pays off with a homer? It's been this year. It's getting close. Elastic saying Minnesota's going to storm pretty hard. It seems. Roth's take was that was clearing pregame. He said maybe they late start, but probably won't need to. Let me just make sure nothing changed. Yeah, he's still that's the same still the same take up there. Keep an eye on it. Just good to know that weather's in the area, but it doesn't seem too bad. So I think you're all right. So Luis Castillo, last time out, 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 5 strikeout game against the Rays. Start before that, just 4 1/3, 2 earned runs, struck out 4, walked 1. Not sure what happened in that one, actually. Why was that a short start? Blah, 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 blah. There's no actual note about. All right, he ran up 87 pitches in the 4 1/3. Wow, he went full count 7 times in that game. 37 pitches in the 3rd inning. So, yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense that it was a little shakier. Anyway, overall, 3.19 ERA, but a 4.12 xFIP, I think speaks to the scuffling that we've seen a little bit this year. 20.9% strikeout rate, most concerningly, is down from 24.3 last year, 27.3 the year before, 27.2 the year before that. So he has lost a little bit around the edges for strikeout. Still missing bats, but not throwing as many overall strikes, not walking too many. So it hasn't been overly problematic, but we haven't gotten the bigger upside games out of him. It's also given up some premium contact. We are just below the line there. 10% is where we get really concerned. This is pretty high. We're way over the line there. We're over the line there by 0.3 of a mile an hour. And it's a pretty significant launch angle. So to be at 2.62% home runs, honestly, maybe a little bit lucky. You can also see the fairly low end rating via Stuff Plus. At 86, at 95, I think he's correctly priced for the performance this year. Just a really challenging Mets lineup on the other side. 21.7% strikeout rate overall for them. They have a 117 WRC plus as an active roster in 3,200 plate appearances against right-handed pitching this year. Some primo bats, obviously, through the top end, and then a lot of playability down the bottom. So I think the Mets are on the board with their 4.68 implied total for sure, but Castillo, same deal. Sean Manaea at 79 at 8,000, going after the Mariners with a 4.42 implied total on their side. Like I've said a couple times already, I just maybe am a little concerned about the depth of start and just what the quality has looked like. He had a couple good outings to start. Came back on July 13th. 3 1/3 that day, but just 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts. 4 innings in the next one, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts. 5 innings in 2 straight with 1 earned run again. 5 strikeout, 4 strikeout. And we're kind of sliding down in quality as we go through this. 5 2/3 got out to good depth against Cleveland on August 4th, but 5 earned runs, 3 strikeouts. Last time out, just 4 innings, faced 20 hitters, 4 earned runs on 6 hits against the Brewers. They've been scoring on everybody. 5 strikeouts, 2 walks, and a home run. It hasn't been totally solid, 4.33 ERA, but a 3.57 xFIP, I think, speaks to the underlying quality of the pitcher. 26.3% strikeout. The walks have been fine. He's been decent at limiting premium contact and power, actually quite good, but allowed a 3.51% home run despite that because a significant fly ball trajectory. So you get the ball in the air and you might be able to get it out against him, even though you're not getting the best of contact. 10.3% swinging strikes, 27% CSW, down slightly from last year. More significantly on the swinging strikes from years past. There is still a lot of quality in Sean Manaea, and there are strikeouts on deck from the Mariners. Taking one of their better and low strikeout options out with Josh Naylor now also enhances the upside. You can see a 23.6% strikeout rate for this confirmed version of the lineup, with a lot of their better hitters being fairly significant strikeout targets. It's just wrestling with we haven't seen him finish 6 yet. We saw him pitch into the 6th just once in his 5 starts. Gets shaky on FanDuel, probably better play on DraftKings, but he is on the board. That said, again, four corners game. I think we're looking offense over here and over here. Randy Arozarena from the top of the Mariners at 51-33. 23 homers, 23 stolen bases. Getting on at a 347 clip, creating runs 31% better than average by WRC+, a 212 ISO. He's had a tremendous season. This is the best form of Randy Arozarena. Cal Raleigh at 18.6% barrel, 50.8% hard hit, 45 home runs in 523 plate appearances, 13 stolen bases. I did see it pointed out, though. And go there. Since the All-Star break, Cal Raleigh, 7 home runs, not insignificant as far as DFS contributions go. 3 stolen bases, scored 13 times, drove in 16. 214 ISO. Slashing just 184, 245, 398. Just an 82 WRC plus, 18 points below average for run creation, despite those 7 home runs. He's kind of just been a home run or bust. 34% strikeout against just 7.5% walk over that clip. Not going to win the MVP doing that. It's obviously been a ridiculously good season. But, let's see. Just 208, 316 on the front end of the slash line, 522 slug with 18 home runs since June 20th. But as far as average on base goes, hasn't really been delivering all that much in the solid last 2 months. Something to consider when you're paying these kind of high prices. Obviously, the upside in the home runs, in the power, is immense and very much there. He's got a 16.79 in the home run model today, one of the highest overall on the entire slate. Second or third? Third highest on the entire slate, behind 2 guys who were playing at Coors Field. Ahead of Shohei Ohtani, Kerry Carpenter, the Tigers, Aaron Judge all the way down here. So yes, still significant home run power, but maybe a little cracks around the edges. Julio Rodriguez at 54-35, up to 24 homers, 23 stolen bases. What a surge for him, as we were, I don't know if expecting is the right word, but certainly hinting at a few times, given what we've seen from this player in the first half versus second half over the last couple seasons. 119 WRC plus on the board for him. Joanny Suarez has been flat bad since coming to the Mariners. It's exactly what I was worried about when they made that trade. 37 home runs on the board, 301 ISO. He stole his third base of the season the other day, but it's been a real struggle. Going into Queens rather than out in Seattle, hopefully picks up a little bit. Not like he just decided not to play well anymore, but going through some things. Dominic Canzone at 32-27, solid slash line, 287, 341, 467, 7 home runs and 182 plate appearances. Major source of premium contact from the left side, extremely cheap, 32-27. We've gotten to the point where this should have been noticed by now. 182 plate appearances is not nothing. He's got a 131 WRC plus, a 374 xWOBA. I don't get why he's so cheap. Mitch Garver, I understand why he's so cheap. 31.5% strikeouts in his 219 plate appearances, slashing just 212, 301, 332. 6 home runs. You're just fishing around for some of that premium contact against the lefty with Garver. Donovan Solano's more of a line drive hitter. Don't love the option at first base for 24, both corners on FanDuel for 22. He is very, very cheap. Slashing 250, 296, 340, 84 WRC plus is obviously not special, but there's a quality hitter in there in terms of hit tool, put the ball in play type of a guy. More line drivey than Luis Arraez, just little dying quail type singles. JP Crawford has plummeted to 358 in the on base, which is still a tremendous on base percentage. Becomes via that one of the more interesting options just for a wraparound play from the bottom of a lineup. Still very capable, 34-27, very cheap now. 266, 358, 366 on the season. Still has that 114 WRC plus. Just hit a wall for a little bit. Cole Young, mix and match quality at the bottom of the lineup. Hasn't done all that much except the 330 on base is pretty appealing. If you're sending him back around to the top, that does work. Between the two, I think JP Crawford's a far more interesting player. Francisco Lindor from the top of the Mets at 54-33, very reasonably priced. 22 homers, 19 steals, a 113 WRC plus. Yes, there are flaws in the slash line. He hasn't been as good, hasn't been peak form, but it's still a tremendous contributor as far as DFS goes. Scores in every single category. Similar numbers to Juan Soto in the 2 spot. 58, 42, 29 homers, 19 steals for him, 384 on base, a ridiculous 438 xWOBA, 146 WRC plus on the season. Nimmo, a little bit cheaper than his friends, 4,500, 3,000. 20 home runs out of him on the season, 12 stolen bases. He's had a nice year, 187 to ISO. 9.2% barrel and 49% hard hits. Doesn't strike out, draws a fair number of walks. It's just a good player for a bit of a discount. Pete Alonso at 55-36 has 28 homers, a 256 ISO, monster power threat from first base. Fairly priced, a little bit, I think, less expensive relatively on FanDuel versus the 55 on DraftKings, but again, not a bad option. Just gets difficult when you talk about putting all 4 of those guys in a DraftKings lineup. That's a $5,300 four-man average. You do have nice offsets down here, but as we looked at yesterday, you probably have to sacrifice 2 of the top end to get there. On FanDuel, you can have the top 4 for $35.25. It's expensive, but it's more doable as a four-man on FanDuel, I think. McNeil, playable, 29-27, a solid 116 WRC plus on the season, a 339 xWOB under the surface. More of a contact-oriented hitter, finds his success via BABIP, but capable of turning on one from time to time. Guy that I like a little bit more, Mark Vientos, is having a bad season overall, but gotten very cheap again. 26 on DraftKings now, 25 on FanDuel. Still has this nice little 8.1% barrel, which isn't great, but it's something. 48.9% hard hit is excellent. So there is still a power bat there. Seth Mullins at 37-28, multi-category contributor, but very much a roller coaster. A lot of strikeouts, medium walk rate, 99 WRC plus on the season, and a concerning 291 xWOB under the surface. That is not appealing, doesn't speak to underperformance, says that this is just like right in line, and those are real. Francisco Alvarez at 29-26 across sites, 6 home runs now in 197 plate appearances. The power's starting to come out. 11.6% barrel and 52.1% hard hit is very interesting. The fact that he costs $2,900 on an appealing offense on DraftKings where you have to play that spot is also very appealing. Different kind of player than Alejandro Kirk, but both of those guys are upside plays for the money that they're asking for on DraftKings. Ronnie Mauricio at the bottom of the lineup. Solid contact out of him so far. 6 home runs, 3 stolen bases, and 153. He's been not reliable, but a little bit productive for fantasy and spots. Playable at the cheap pricing. And again, I think you do need to grab 2 of these guys and 3 of those if you're doing it on DraftKings to find it real quick, like Vientos, Alvarez. And then can we just run those 3 maybe? Yeah, that's 42.60. That's doable. What if I got greedy? Even getting greedy, it's 44.40, so 4,500 a man for the 5-man. Power of the average in those 2 prices is pretty significant. You obviously got to get a little contribution out of Mark Vientos. It's probably more likely from Frankie Alvarez, but not off the board price-wise. And again, it comes with the idea that you're attacking Luis Castillo, but this is a tough read. Let's say I think since we need him, maybe it's Castillo. 4 corners for sure. So I'm going to say Castillo, Mets bats, Mariners bats, Manaya. But I think all 4 things are pretty firmly in play. Miami lineup is in. Looks pretty much like what we've got, I think. Oop, blew right past it. So Sandy at just 65-75 is pitched to a 16.8% strikeout rate this year, 6.55 ERA, 4.54 xFIP. It's a lot of premium contact. Doesn't come on the biggest fly ball trajectory. 9.2 degree average launch is kind of saving his life as far as that home run rate goes. But Fenway Park, some of these big power bats, some of the lefties, it doesn't look like a good smash up of factors here. The one thing about Sandy, the big positive attribute right now is the $6,500 price tag for a guy who could go out there and, good or bad, eat 7 innings. 2 starts ago went 7 against Houston, 6 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, and a walk. 4 strikeouts, but 4 walks, 2 home runs allowed, 5 earned runs on 7 hits, over 5 against the Braves his last time out. That's your downside. Over 7 innings against the Padres, going back 4 starts. He allowed just 1 unearned run. Struck out only 4, didn't walk anybody, 4 hits. That's your upside. But it's very thin. We've gotten a lot more downside as evidenced by those run numbers. Lucas Giolito at 85-88 going up against the Fish here. 3.77 ERA, but a very ugly 4.41 xFIP over there. Definitely speaks to the underperform or the potential for underperformance. 19.7% strikeouts this year, just under an 8% walk rate. Too many guys on base, not really finding swinging strike, throwing enough strikes overall. A lot of premium contact allowed from him on a significant fly ball trajectory. I think it plays into the power here that the Marlins have. 2 of these guys above the magic number, and then, a weird stretch of guys who are Jacob Marcia obviously is capable of hitting some home runs. He's got 3 in just 52 chances this year. Some of these guys down lineup are kids who we don't have enough sample on yet, but we do have some suspicions that there's some talent down there based on what they've done in the minors. So I'm kind of intrigued by this Marlins lineup. I hope that 382 implied total maybe keeps some people away as one of our contrarian teams today. Giolito, when he's right, can find form though. Last time out, it wasn't good. 4 earned runs in 4 2/3. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, went 8 against Houston the start before that. Just 1 earned run. Struck out only 4 and walked 1, but that's a pretty solid start for these prices. 6 innings the start before that against the Twins at Minnesota on the 29th. So after the fire sale. 5 strikeout, 2 walk, 1 earned run, 5 hits allowed. Reasonable start. A 6-inning shutout over with 4 hits allowed. Struck out 6 against the Rockies back on July 9th. Capable, not a priority. Marlins bats with Xavier Edwards at the top, 44-31. No power to speak of, but a great table setter for this lineup. 307, 366, 384 this season, a 111 WRC plus. Stolen 23 bases. I would say the pace of stolen bases is diminished from what we saw last year, but he's been a very good correlated scorer, hitting again ahead of their power upside. Kyle Stowers at 54-33. That feels a little cheap on FanDuel by comparison. I like that option. 10.64 in the home run model today. He's hit 25 on the season. He's got a 253 ISO, monster premium contact. Everything we're seeing from Kyle Stowers this year is very real. This is not crazy outlier performance. He's just good. Agustin Ramirez has proven himself pretty quickly. 17 home runs and 415 plate appearances from a rookie catcher. Not bad. 203 ISO and just a 97 WRC plus, but a solid 359 xWOBA. That speaks to enhanced performance in the future. Striking out just 19% of the time as a rookie, 12% barrel, 48.4% hard hit. Sign me up. That's really interesting at 3,900 on DraftKings, 29 on FanDuel, where you don't necessarily have to play a first baseman from this team. I like that upside. Liam Hicks at 3,025 catcher first base on both sites. Decent enough slash line, more of a table setter from the middle of the lineup with a 104 WRC plus. If you're getting invested in the bottom of the Marlins lineup, then maybe he plays up a little bit more as a correlated scoring guy. Less likely as an end piece to the top end of the stack, though. Otto Lopez is kind of similar in that way. 11 homers, 11 steals, and 241, 312, 365. Just more a cog in the machine than a really desirable player. But if you're getting overweight to Marlins and stretching out, you can definitely get some Otto into your portfolio. Jacob Marcia, DraftKings hasn't caught up. FanDuel has. FanDuel's got him at 3,500, the most expensive player on the Marlins, the same price as Alex Bregman on the other side of the game. Seems a little silly. It's been 52 very good plate appearances, but it's been 52 plate appearances. 4,100, though, by comparison, maybe leaving a little bit on the table price-wise. 395, 500, 791, 249 WRC plus in his 52 chances. He's been the best or second or third best player in baseball since he's gotten called up. It's not going to last, but it's clearly a talented kid. 15.6% barrel, 56% hard hits. Eric Wagaman is a mix and match talent with a 45% hard hit rate, but not that much to show for it on the season. Graham Pauley, we talked about at length yesterday, 24 on both sites, multi-position on FanDuel. Kid's got some prospect pedigree, put up some numbers through the minors, and at each stop, a little bit of underperformance and then finds form and starts playing well. 237, 320, 385. There's some stuff to like there. 4 home runs and 154 chances. He's at worst on the board at these cheap prices. And then Dane Myers, 27, 25. Limited, 75 WRC plus. 238, sub 300 on base, 5 homers, 16 steals. If we're just fishing around for unlikely counting stats at the bottom, sure, but not a priority. For the Red Sox, Roman Anthony at 46 on DraftKings, 3,000 on FanDuel. 4 home runs on the board. The power is yet to fully arrive, as we've talked about a lot, but he is making the contact that you need to just fully deliver monster home run power. So that's going to show up at some point, and this kid's going to skyrocket into the stratosphere and be more highly priced on both sites. Maybe it doesn't happen before the end of this season, but look for it next year. As is, $283.99, $441, got himself paid by Boston in a big extension, bought out his ARB years, and that makes a ton of sense because he is just good, future star. Definitely get him while he's cheap. $52.35 for Alex Bregman in the 2 spot against this version of Alcantara. I'm kind of interested. 16 home runs and 243 ISO, 150 WRC plus that leads this team. That's an upside bat for sure. He's fairly priced. He's expensive, but he's fairly priced, and you can average those prices down with a lot of usable players in this lineup. Jarren Duran at 5 at 34 on FanDuel, 12 homers, 19 steals. A solid season from him, 114 WRC plus. He's up to a 190 ISO on very good premium contact. Story's done nothing but hit the ball hard all year, 18 home runs, 20 stolen bases. We're going 20-20 plus. Still just a 95 WRC plus. Drives me bananas because he's not drawing a walk rate. 5.1% walk, getting on it at now above 300 clip, but still just 301. That's what's hurting that WRC plus. We got to get that up, got to get that over 100. So that I can actually call it a good Trevor Story season, which it is. Wilyer Abreu at 41 at 3,000 on FanDuel. 21 home runs on the board, a 231 ISO. I feel like it's been a minute for Wilyer, though. What's he done over the last handful of weeks? We'll leave out that 2 home run game. We'll start on the 21st. Since July 21st, 1 home run, 246, 324, 369, just a 123 ISO, 87 WRC plus over 75 plate appearances. It's a bad stretch for Wilyer. If we include the day before, it's 265, 346, 471, 3 home runs, 9 runs, 15 ribbies, a 119 WRC plus. So, in many ways, lies, damn lies, and statistics, as they say. That's a pretty big jump by including 1 additional game. So I don't get too much into last 30 days, last this, last that for hitters. That's why I don't care too much about some of these small sample things, because you can manipulate the numbers to show whatever you want. Wilyer is still an investment in the heart of this lineup at 41, at 33, or at 3,000. That is a big-time power bat to throw out this version of Sandy with all the premium contact he's allowing. If people go away from him for perceptions of underperformance, so much the better. That's to our advantage. Romy Gonzalez, 15.2% barrel, 58.9% hard hit, down to 47 on DraftKings, 29 on FanDuel across 3 positions. Over 216 plate appearances, not all of which have been against lefties. 305, 343, 550. Against righties this year, 255, 278, 431. Scuffling a little bit in the on-base department, not hitting the ball quite as hard, but still a 176 ISO. That's respectable. 87 WRC plus is obviously problematic. 22.2% strikeout is fine, but just a 1.9% walk rate in same-handed, I think, hurts him most as far as the same-handed WRC plus goes. But definitely capable against same-handed pitching. And again, somebody who I feel like the field discounts a little bit in this situation. The 47 is not ideal, but at second base it works. This is a generous price. Abraham Toro, mix and match quality for 3 for 26 across on FanDuel. You can get to him, but he's not a priority. Sedan Rafaela, probably the better option between those two down lineup, despite the price bump. Only $300 price difference on FanDuel. It's $1,000 difference on DraftKings. A lot of multi-position out of those 3 guys with 3 usable players down the bottom of the lineup here, though, on FanDuel. Makes the Red Sox really interesting. And then Carlos Narvaez hit the ball squarely all season long. 10 home runs, 250, 320, 418. Kind of a unexpected uptick in his quality, but he's there and he's been getting it done, and he's very affordable on where you have to play the position. Red Sox bats, Marlins bats, Giolito, Sandy. And Sandy's really only on the board on DK, and even over there, it's really only a loose kind of dart throw at some innings. And they're probably not going to be good innings. What's up, Doug? Doug's saying Waldrop and Perkins are my pitchers of choice on FanDuel. Am I crazy for that? I just don't love the pitching today, and I want to pay up for Arizona, Yankees, and Boston bats. I don't think you're crazy about all those things. Waldrop is definitely on the board. Perkins is on the board, but that would be the one I'm a little bit more skeptical about. I talked through it at the beginning of the show, and we'll get to it again. I just don't know that we're fully polished, and that ballpark really scares me. Just as like the tie-breaking factor, going to a kid pitching, and again, there are plenty of strikeouts there, and he is a dude who has missed bats at the major league level already. So I have faith in him finding some Ks, but I think it comes with some earned run damage. I think it comes with some power damage more often than not. He is there. He is playable on that slate. And if he buys you the right bats in combination, even if he gives up a few runs at that price, could be a slate winning play. So I don't want to talk you out of it. I just want to point out that it is a high danger decision. And here's Waldrop right now. We can talk about him. So as I said at the beginning of the show, last time out, his first full start, his second appearance since getting called up, 6 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts and a walk against Miami. That Miami team is not all that dissimilar from this Guardians team now. I would say they're actually downright similar. Plenty of upside. 22.7% strikeout, a 1.54 ERA, 3.72 xFIP though, over his 11 2/3. He made a bulk relief appearance for 5 2/3, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, gave up an earned run. In AAA this season, he made 19 starts, 91 2/3 innings, had a 4.42 ERA, a 4.41 xFIP. So we do need to temper expectations in the overall, but it is a high-end pitching prospect. He had a 22.5% strikeout rate, but did walk 12.3%. Walks can be an issue with him. Hasn't hit him yet in the show, but it might. And these Guardians do have some guys that draw a few walks. So there is a little visible downside. 72, 76, pricing works perfectly fine. Definitely on the board. You can see the threat, though, in a 4.36 implied total. Joey Cantillo at 8,000 at 8,300 has a 28% strikeout rate, but nearly a 12% walk rate. 4.11 ERA, but a 3.59 xFIP. There's things to like. There's things to dislike. 12.5% swinging and a 31.7 CSW are tremendous. But a 1.40 whip is problematic, especially when it comes with a 46.6% hard hit, 90.4 miles an hour of exit velo. Not a tremendous barrel rate. He saved the day on launch angle, it looks like a little bit, but 11.5 degrees is also not nothing. You can hit home runs against Joey Cantillo, 2.99%, kind of squarely in the middle. There are Ks in the Braves lineup for him to go find, 23.3% for this season. But it is still a lineup with some impact bats like Matt Olson. Oh, shit, Acuna's back. I didn't even see that. That's a bigger threat. Well, there you go. All right. So that changes the equation a little bit. That's obviously a gigantic impact bat to drop into that lineup. It stretches him out nicely. It's one of the best players in baseball, back to health. So yeah, I would limit even more my enthusiasm about Joey Cantillo. He did go 5 2/3 in each of his last starts, 1 good, 1 bad, but in a weird way. I mentioned these at the beginning of the show. 5 2/3 of 1-run ball against the White Sox. Not bad. 4 hits. Fine, but only struck out 3 and walked 2. The start before that, 5 2/3 against Minnesota on the 3rd, struck out 9, walked 2, but gave up 4 earned runs on 6 hits. A lot of good, a lot of bad. I definitely think that's more likely to be the kind of start. Maybe you get 6, 7 strikeouts out of him, but you're probably getting some runs against. You're probably getting some power showing up against. From the top of the Braves, Jurickson Profar at 4,032. He's playable. He's a table setter for these guys. If you get an individual contribution out of him, which we have a little bit, over 189 plate appearances, it's, obviously it's good. That's not what I would be expecting from him. I'd be chasing the 344 on base, the low strikeout, pretty decent walk rate against this pitcher. And that's the ideal combination of factors to throw at a Joey Cantillo. So you get Profar off the top for a fair price. I'm not a big fan of the player, but he's very usable here. Matty Olson at 52 and at 34 on FanDuel is a bargain. 19 home runs in 541 plate appearances. A diminished performance overall for him, but still hitting the ball extremely hard. Very high walk rate out of him too. 23.7% strikeout rate is not problematic, especially against that walk rate. He's a tremendous bat. And another guy, pretty ideal to throw at Cantillo. Maybe Cantillo gets him once or twice. Olson draws a walk in one of those or hits a home run, and we're in business. Acuna, again, back in the lineup at 306, 429, 577 with a 270 ISO over his 238 plate appearances. Got out to 14 home runs in that brief time. He might end up leading this team in home runs before the year's up. 20 on the board for Marcell Ozuna. Obviously has something to say about that. 190 ISO. Underperformance overall for Ozuna, but it was due to injury earlier in the season. He was playing hurt for a stretch. 12.2% barrel, 45.7% hard hit, drawing a 17% walk rate to get up near Acuna levels, getting on at a 368 clip. He's contributed in a lot of ways. The power's just been in a little bit of a decline this year, but I think we're back in business for that. Since July 28th, he's hit 7 home runs. He's got a 457 ISO. 283, 433, 739, 213 WRC plus. And that's without Acuna in the lineup. So could be a spot to pick up some Marcell Ozuna shares for only 39 on DraftKings, 32 on FanDuel. They have not caught up to the return to form. 35-27 for Ozzie Albies, who has not returned to form overall. 10 home runs, 11 stolen bases, a 78 WRC plus. It's been a bad season for Ozzie, but the other resurgent player in this lineup is also not priced up. As we talked about yesterday, 34 for Michael Harris, 28 on FanDuel. Harris, over that same stretch of time, has been killing the ball. There he is. And again, we don't get excited about over the last 30 games, over the last, since the 25th, which is where I just clicked him to. I think the Ozuna one was since the 28th. But for good players who have been struggling to hit a solid month, that is a good talking point. That's something we want to look at because it's a return to form. It's not crazy outlier performance. It doesn't actually mean anything. Hopefully, in this case, it means something. Since the 25th of July, Harris is at 415, 429, 793 in his slash line. He has a 238 WRC plus, a 378 ISO, 6 home runs, 3 triples, 7 doubles, scoring runs, stealing bases. It's been peak Michael Harris, and they have not noticed. The hope would be that the public hasn't either. You can use him to attack Joey Cantillo, even lefty-lefty. Sean Murphy, 34-29, cheap. 16 home runs on the board, still a 231 ISO, hasn't hit for average, been getting on base at a Sean Murphy-esque clip, 110 WRC plus, 7.7 in the home run model actually feels a little bit low considering the Sean Murphy of it, 14% barrel, tremendous bat, very cheap where you got to play catchers. They made a bunch of catchers cheap on this slate on DraftKings. Take advantage. Nacho at 23-22, usable piece maybe, supposed to have a hit tool, hasn't arrived at the major league level, and Nick Allen here for defense. Steven Kwan, 42-29 at the top of the Guardians lineup. Very solid hit tool player. Performance comes and goes, lives and dies by BABIP, by getting driven in by some of his pals. But a capable enough guy against a rookie pitcher, and go you one better. If that walk rate shows up for Hurst and Waldrop, if the walk issues show up, Steven Kwan's a guy who can absolutely exploit that up toward the top of the lineup here. So very good table setter option for the guards if you choose to go that direction. Daniel Schneemann, a little bit of power upside, 11.9% barrel, 41.6% hard hits. He plays 4 positions on FanDuel for only 2,700. It's up to 10 home runs, got a 158 ISO, but a 337 underlying xWOB, I think speaks to the quality. Also, another guy draws a bunch of walks. That's a fair amount of walk, again, going through this Guardians lineup. Jose Ramirez is a superstar. You play him in any situation. Kyle Manzardo is up to 21 home runs, chasing Ramirez for the team lead. Ramirez has 25 with 35 stolen bases. He's just ridiculous. He falls out of bed each year and does that. Gabriel Arias at 29-25, mix and match quality guy, 9 home runs, but hits the ball pretty squarely. You can get any given slate performance out of Arias on any given slate. Carlos Santana having a bit of a bumpy season, 11 home runs on the year, still getting on at a 319 clip. 303 xWOB and an 88 WRC plus, though. All he really is anymore is fairly low strikeout, fairly high walk, which could bump into Hurst and Waldrop for us pretty nicely. And if Waldrop's trying to play around the edges, Santana can still deliver a little bit of pop. He's hit 11 home runs. CJ Kayfus, 235, 297, 412 with a homer, a stolen base, 98 WRC plus over his first 37 plate appearances in the show. Finding his footing, but very affordable for a high pedigree prospect. Bo Naylor at 28-27, another guy who could damage Waldrop via the walk here. 12.4% walk rate, if nothing else, and it's nothing else. 174, 278, 360 slash line. 11 home runs and 307 plate appearances is okay from the catcher spot, but when it comes with this kind of underperformance, otherwise, it's pretty tough. And then Brian Rocchio is kind of their Nick Allen. Since we got Acuna back, I got to go Braves up top. Braves, and hope that we get that at lower ownership than it ought to be. Braves, Waldrop, Guardians, Bats, Cantillo. Yeah, sure thing, Doug. Hopefully the breakdown helped with like where to land the Waldrop expectations. But it is a good young pitcher. Kid I like. Yeah, Jake, I'm with you, man. Yep. Ozuna, back to form. Michael Harris, back to form, both over the last 3 weeks or so, as we just talked through. I think that's a really interesting looking stack now, adding Acuna back into that lineup against this pitcher. That kind of works for me. So much that I'm going to jot it down so I don't forget it as I'm making my lineups later on. Braves. There we go. And then I folded it over so it was not sticking up at me. I do that a lot when we're on shows and when we kick over a rock like that. And then I get to the end of the show and I'm like, damn it, what was I talking about when I got enthusiastic about that spot? Brendan Young is not going to be that thing, though. 6.70 ERA, a 4.54 xFIP on the board, a 19.6% strikeout against nearly 10% walk over 10 starts, just 44 and a third innings. You can see the nearly 2 whip. Pretty disgusting. A lot of premium contact available here. Monster 4.90 home run rate. Definitely could push up some quality from these Astros. I was expecting to suddenly see Jordan Alvarez and get all enthusiastic all over again, but he's not quite back yet. Hopefully one day. I do like the Astros bats here, and I love their pitcher. Framber Valdez, top of the pitching board. 2.97 ERA, a 3.09 xFIP, 24.4% strikeout, adequate enough strikeout rate, 11.3% swinging. He's good at missing bats. He's walking a few too many. That can be a bit of a hiccup every now and again. Does allow a lot of hard hit, a lot of exit velo, but it matters a lot less because it comes on a 1.5 degree average launch angle. He keeps home runs to a 1.34% home run rate, and that has been the case for years. This is just a pitcher that we know does this. 0.4 degrees and a 1.85 last year, 4.2 and a 2.35 the year before, negative 3.6 and a 1.33 the year before that, negative 5 point something the year before that on the launch angle. Demonstrably keeps the ball in the yard. Takes away a lot of the quality out of the home run upside for the Orioles. There are strikeouts in this lineup for him to go get. 24.7% strikeout rate overall for the season. The active roster is a little bit short, just 689 plate appearances overall for this version of the Orioles active roster against lefties this year, but they haven't been good. That is not a good line across the board at 81 collective WRC plus. Major upside spot for Framber, 308 implied total for the Orioles. Every now and then Framber comes out in bad form. Last 2 starts has been the case. Against the Red Sox at Fenway, 6 innings, 5 earned runs, 6 runs total, 7 hits, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk. Against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, 5 2/3, 4 runs, all of them earned, 8 hits, 1 strikeout, most problematically 4 walks. Prior to that stretch, he faced the Nationals, struck out 12, had a 7-inning game against the Diamondbacks out in the desert, 1 earned run on 7 hits, only struck out 4 that day, but was effective. 6 innings of 10 strikeout ball, 1 unearned run on 4 hits against the Rangers. It is so much quality, tons and tons of depth. He is one of the more reliable guys to pitch deep into a ball game. We don't worry about a couple of blips. If you do consider the Orioles, I think you're getting a greatly diminished opportunity for success, but you do have some interesting enough names. Jackson Holliday at 39-28. 14 homers, 11 steals. The quality has been up and down throughout the season, but he's made some encouraging strides from a kid who's one of the top prospects in baseball going into last year. Struggled along the way. The average isn't great. The on-base part of it, the slug, the full slash line, honestly, isn't that great. The 139 ISO, but a 321 underlying xWOBA puts him around the average. He's made good contact. He's cut that strikeout rate by 10 percentage points, which is noteworthy. That in and of itself would be a major uptick in quality for this second season. So easy to use at 39.28, but lefty for him against one of the best run limiters in baseball just doesn't seem like a good idea. Jordan Westburg at 42.31 has 14 home runs, one of the better power bats on this team. That comes in just 288 plate appearances, 198 ISO. It's great to run 17% better than average, squares the ball up pretty regularly. One of their more appealing bats, but again, even he's at just a 5.3 in the home run model. Even Gunnar, lefty here too, 4.67. When we're getting everybody cut down to half the magic number in the home run model, it tells us something. Adley at 4,028, mix and match quality season, 99 WRC plus. Part of the disappointment, I would say, for the Orioles. If I was an O's fan, I'd maybe be getting a little bit concerned. Still just 16.2% strikeout, 11.1% walk. Those are in line with expectation. But 232, 318, 386 is not. 9 home runs and 333 chances. Last year, he was a 250, 318, 391 hitter, just a 140 ISO, but hit 19 home runs and 638. Year before, monster season, 127 WRC plus, 20 homers and 687 plate appearances. Did miss a little time by comparison to those every single day catcher numbers. But this has definitely been a down season. Ryan Mountcastle's back with this team, 29-27, 4 home runs, 246, 283, 367. Just has never regained his power despite consistently barreling the ball, consistently putting up good hard hit rates. Just never got back to that home run power. Kobe Mayo at 27-25, 4 home runs and 154 chances, just a 145 ISO. And again, we're just taking the home run stick out of these guys' hands. Jeremiah Jackson, Dylan Carlson, Greg Allen going down the lineup here. There is just not much quality. Mix and match, I would say, would be fair. 24-23 for Carlson. 4 home runs, 3 steals, and 193, 243, 292 slash line this year. Been bad. And it's a player like, in my head, I wanted to say we've got a little quality to show if we look back in years past from Carlson, but it's been more expectation than actual any kind of delivery of quality. Dead at league average WRC plus of 100 back in 2022 over his most significant sample size has been significantly below average in 500 plus plate appearances across 23 and 24, and this year's 173 plate appearances. I think it's fair to say he might just be bad. Greg Allen is a quad A guy, a little bit of speed, but nothing special. Astros are way more interesting. Jose Altuve at the top, 52-32, back with his old running mate Carlos Correa up there. That's a good combo. 283, 348, 469 from Altuve, 278, 332, 404 from Correa. 126 and 106 WRC plus. Altuve's been the more productive bat, 21 homers, 8 stolen bases versus 9 and 0. But Correa's never stopped hitting the ball hard. Hits the ball quite a bit harder than his counterpart there. Jesus Sanchez also hits the ball really hard, always has. Has oddly never really seen the extreme power results from it, but hits the ball extremely hard. 10 home runs on the year, a 158 ISO, a very solid 344 xWOB under the surface. Has cut some strikeout out of his game so far this year. 384 plate appearances were at 20.3% versus 26 each of the last 2 years. Gained a little bit of walk rate. This smart organization went out and acquired him to add a lefty bat up to the top while Alvarez is out. And I think it's a good addition for them. 8.32 in the home run model. Not nothing against a pitcher like Brandon Young, who's allowing nearly 5% home runs on all this contact. Christian Walker at 4,000 at 2,900. 16 home runs, a 160 ISO, a very disappointing year overall. I feel like we've gotten a little life out of Walker lately. He's hit 3 home runs in August. It's about all the life we've gotten out of him, so that must be the little blips I've seen. 3 home runs, 9 runs, 10 ribbies. Does have a 295 ISO for August. We're talking about 51 plate appearances, though. Again, this is not something I actually care about. But a 136 WRC plus over that stretch. It's at least nice to see. 4,200 against this pitcher. I think you can absolutely get to Christian Walker. We could have done that without looking up the numbers. Jainer Diaz at 37-29. 17 home runs on the board for him. It's been a lost year in terms of what I expected him to do as far as hitting for average, getting on base, creating runs, some of the most important things anybody could do. But 8.8% barrel, 42.8% hard hit is not bad. Still only strikes out 16% of the time. Doesn't really draw that many walks. So he's consistently putting the ball in play, which creates situations, which creates some scoring events. It's just been a little diminished from expectation outside of the home run total, but a very, very playable catcher. Again, another cheap catcher on DraftKings with a high quality guy. 37 for him. I'd rather have Jhonder Diaz against Brendan Young than Adley Rutschman against Framber Valdez, and Adley's 4,000 more. Tell me, what is the difference between... Same. Jhner's better. Same. Adley's better. Jhner's better. Jhner's better. Jhner's better. Jhner's better. Jhner's better, but doesn't really matter. Adley's better there. Not there. Not there. Not there. Slightly better in the xWOBA. So if we're looking at the underline, but it makes no sense to have him 300 more against Framber Valdez. There's no perspective with these prices. 9 home runs on the board for Ramon Urias, a guy who's always capable at low ownership, low pricing at second base, mix and match quality player overall, but a little bit of thunder in that bat from time to time. Just a 145 ISO, nothing to get excited about, but a playable guy from down lineup. Taylor Trammell at 29, 26, 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases, a 330 on bases, interesting as a table setter, 103 WRC plus, just more interesting from up top in the lineup. Mauricio Dubon at 29, 24, mix and match quality player across multiple positions, and Cam Smith in the outfield at 34 at 28, getting on base at a 322 clip, hit 7 home runs, 5 stolen bases. I would say this is probably not quite what they expected when he broke camp with the team, but 410 plate appearances of reasonable quality. He hasn't been bad, but 97 WRC plus, a little below average. Framber, Astros bats, and really, honestly, nothing from the Orioles, but if you play anything in an Orioles uniform, it should be some of those bats. They'll be very contrarian. I'll give them that much. White Sox and the Royals, both of these lineups are in. Curtis Mead in the 2 spot today for the White Sox. So this version of the Chicago active roster, over 899 plate appearances against left-handed pitching, has just a 98 WRC plus, a 169 ISO. They've hit 27 home runs and stolen 19 bases in that, moderate sample. But I don't know that we need to really talk. I mean, we'll talk about it. I'm talking about it right now. But I don't know that their previous success against lefties is necessarily all that threatening anymore. Outside of Lubob against the lefty is obviously high quality. What's the best way to do this? All right, left-handed pitching. So yeah, that puts them 14th by WRC plus, squarely in the middle of the league. Their home run total in far fewer plate appearances than a number of these teams is also 15th, right in the middle of the league. They have a collective 169 ISO that ranks 11th, striking out 24.2% of the time. That's this active roster over the full course of the full season. If we just use everybody that's worn a White Sox uniform this year against lefties, it's just a 92 WRC plus, 165 ISO. If we go to the active roster and we just make it since let's see where we land. They do climb 104 WRC plus, a 188 ISO with 31 home runs on the board. Wait a minute. Nope, sorry. This cut out my changing the date range apparently cut out my split. That's unfortunate. I wanted to see against lefties over that stretch. Yeah, those are all overall numbers. They've been an improved baseball team in the second half, right? It's very difficult to stay as bad as they were carrying through. But I think still probably a little bit, overhyped as far as their quality against lefties outside of that guy. Very much a believer in Lubob. 12 home runs, 31 stolen bases. He's up to 221, 302, 358 on the season. Still just an 83 WRC plus, but that very encouraging xWOBA number in the 330s. And 277, 390, 518 with a 241 ISO and a 147 WRC plus against lefties this season for Lubov. 6 of his 12 home runs. So major upside for quality from the 3-hitter. But I don't know that this necessarily, anything about this White Sox team necessarily makes it a threatening spot for Noah Cameron, outside of the fact that Cameron is just a 4.10 xFIP pitcher with a 20% strikeout rate. He's not all that special, but he does work deep into games. 93 innings in just 16 starts. 2.52 ERA is also very good. He's found success, but that xFIP tells us that it's a little bit illusory. 11.3% swinging strike rate is very good, though. 7% walk rate is adequate. A 103 whip. He's kept guys off base, hasn't allowed barrels or hard hits or exit velo, has been managing premium contact very effectively. 93 on DraftKings feels expensive. 92 on FanDuel feels expensive. But when you bring the White Sox into the equation, it maybe isn't. When you bring the depth into the equation, probably isn't. Again, just going backward in time from his most recent 5 2/3, 6 1/3, 5 innings. 6 innings, 6 2/3, 7 innings, and then 2 short ones of 4 2/3, 4 innings. He hit that stretch of pitching into the 6th, but not getting through the 6th, and then had that run of 6 plus in his first 4 starts. So the depth is very real. 394 implied total also speaks to the quality, I think, of the White Sox today. Aaron Savali just looking like a target for the Royals at a 5.17 implied total. Savali sub 20% strikeout, a 4.91 ERA with a 4.83 xFIP. Incredibly targetable for premium contact. 3.16% home runs is kind of manageable, but a 20.1 degree average launch with that kind of a barrel rate is something that some of these hitters can capitalize on. So I greatly lean Royals bats here. 68, I don't think he's even a dart really on DraftKings. Minor usability, but there's very little appeal. You're not getting through that many times. If you're considering the White Sox, Miguel Vargas at the top of the lineup, 32-29, 13 home runs on the board for him. Get back to that split board real quick. Come on. There we go. Yeah, this was the one I wanted to see. For Vargas, he's actually got reverse splits. Only 2 of his 13 home runs have come against lefties. He's slashing 229, 286, 404 against lefties with an 88 WRC plus, a 174 ISO. So pretty much all of his qualities actually come against same-handed pitching. Curtis Mead at 28, 23, just 234, 321, 324 overall, and 85 WRC plus. Mix and match quality player with some talent available to him, but against it's only 90 plate appearances against lefties this year, but 208, 311, 260. Not great for another right-handed hitter. Luba, we talked about. Montgomery, as good as Montgomery's been overall, 147, 171, 412 against left-handed pitching in only 35 plate appearances. Does have 3 home runs in that tiny sample and a 265 ISO, but otherwise has been somewhat inept against left-handed pitching. So some good and some bad, but diminished expectations for a kid who's got 10 home runs and 128 plate appearances and has been tremendous since he got called up. Edgar Quero at 34-25. Solid season, over 275 plate appearances from the young catcher. Against lefties, he's been tremendous. 370, 408, 489. But it's mostly absent power. Just a 120 ISO. Not striking out much against left-handed pitching. Just 1 home run. So you're getting him on base a lot. You're getting a lot of average. But then you're running him into, the Lenyn Sosa, who I do like. But we're talking about a sneaky mix and match DFS play, not a primo overall hitter. Taukman, who's mostly here to get on base and kind of miscast down toward the bottom of the lineup, and then Midroff, Michael A. Players that we can use, players that we do get to from time to time and talk about on this show for sure, but it's limited. 34 remains very cheap again, though. Sosa is up to 14 home runs. Against lefties, he's only hit 12. Only 2 of those home runs have come against lefties. 12 against same-handed pitching. 265, 299, 363 overall for Sosa. Very playable bat. Does make good contact, always has. But I think people are a little bit more aware of him now as like a sneaky option on this team. So it diminishes that, that appeal. Tauchman, again, monster on base, 371 this year. Good run creator, 129 WRC plus. I just don't love running him into Chase Meadroth, who has largely scuffled his way through the season. He has a very good reputation for his hit tool, deservedly so, but he's dipped pretty significantly down to 252, 330, 319 in an extended sample. And then Michael A can get into one. 8 home runs, 7 stolen bases. I would prefer getting to him over a lot of guys. 265 ISO against lefties this year, 4 of those home runs and 104 plate appearances, 245, 262, 510 with a 102 WRC plus against lefties this year. So Michael A, maybe from down here, if you're determined to go to the White Sox, is on the board. You can see the premium contact over the last couple seasons. That's why we like guys like that. But the Royals are the lead here. 10 home runs on the board from Mike Yastrzemski in the leadoff spot, getting on base at a 327 clip, 97 WRC plus, an effective enough guy from the left side to throw at Aaron Savali. The power's been out a little bit this year, but we know there's more to give in that department from years past. Like the option there, especially because he hits ahead of this stretch of bats. Bobby Witt at 6,000, 4,017 homers, 30 stolen bases, a 346 on base, 125 WRC plus for the year. Vinny at just 45 at 31 remains too cheap against a bad righty. He's hit 22 home runs this year. He's got a 190 ISO, a 108 WRC plus, doesn't strike out, draws a medium walk rate, and makes great contact consistently. That is a very good hitter. Michael Garcia at 5,000 at 3,100, 302, 365, 469 slash line this year, 11 homers, 22 stolen bases. Love that we talked about him on opening day and how good his potential season was going to be because he has delivered in a big way. Sal Perez at 41, 29, 21 home runs, right on track for Sal at 201 ISO. It wasn't looking great for the power output for a stretch there, but he's put it back together and we're getting a ton of quality. And honestly, 41 for Sal Perez against this pitcher is cheap. What is DraftKings doing with the catcher position today? Adam Frazier, Jonathan India, Nick Lofton, Kyle Isbell to pick up a little bit of time. As I said the other day, 3 of those guys play the exact same multi-position setup. Same thing over here. They're essentially the same guy this year in a lot of ways. I still think that India is the most talented in that group. Frazier's given you the best performance in that group so far this year. So it kind of diminishes just in order there. And then you get to Kyle Isbell in the bottom spot, 265, 303, 384. A member of that club despite only playing one of those positions. So all 4 of those things, mix and match your way through. They're all basically the same pricing. There's not much quality difference. Every single one of those guys, sub 20% strikeout, medium walk rates, medium to light contact. Top of the Royals is where you want to live with the Royals bats for the most part. Royals bats, Noah Cameron. White Sox bats, no Aaron Savali for me. That is, diminished Yankees lineup with no Stanton. It's problematic till Judge can get back in the outfield. They were playing him in right when they were at home, but going back out on the road in St. Louis here, looks like Stanton's getting the day off. Which is a shame because, I mean, he has been hitting the ball exactly to expectations. Oh, I thought we were on that game. That is what I meant to grab. I just saw somebody drop the Stanton mention into the chat that sidetracked me for a sec. Let's go Tigers. Another really appealing looking day for the Tigers. As mentioned, 4 runs yesterday. Didn't quite deliver on what we were looking at for DFS outside of getting our Riley Green home run. But you can see major power upside on the board again for these Tigers. They hit a lot of home runs. Got a lot of high-quality bats. Going up against Pearson Ole, who has pitched, made 2 starts, given up an 8% home run rate so far on 18.4% barrels, 52.6% hard hits. These are home run derby kind of numbers. That is a pitcher that you can definitely target with some of these high-quality Tigers bats. 2 2/3 last time out. Actually pitched fairly clean, faced 9 hitters, allowed 1 hit, didn't strike anybody out, walked 1, but didn't give up any runs. Start before that, 2 2/3 against these Tigers at Detroit. 2 2/3, 4 runs on 4 hits, 3 home runs allowed. Struck out 3. Not a great day. You're not playing Pearson Ole under any circumstance. He's probably not getting out of the 4th inning, even if he's pitching okay. So it's just about the Tigers' bats. Going the other direction, Charlie Morton at 82, at 84, having an okay season. 23% strikeouts, too many walks, way too high a whip, but a solid swinging strike rate, just a 4.20 xFIP. I mean, I think, 4 and change runs is probably the limit of our expectations for this version of Charlie Morton, but it's not been completely terrible like the ERA would lead you to believe. He's given up a little premium contact and power for sure, but a manageable enough launch angle tells us that on the right day, we can get him through this Twins lineup. Only Byron Buxton is above the magic number for home run power. You do have some appreciable home run hitters, though. Matt Wallner, Trevor Larnach, Cody Clemens. There are some power bats there that might get to Charlie. So in no way is Charlie actually safe, but at 82, at 84, he's reasonably priced. Comes with a little bit of strikeout upside that matches a 22.2% strikeout rate overall for this Twins team. So not dead in the water with Charlie shares. With a 503 implied total, the Tigers are one of the more appealing offenses. Colt Keith is a primo prospect, 3,800 on DraftKings, 2,800 on FanDuel. I say prospect, I know he's been here for a minute, but in my mind, still a prospect until he's fully gotten his feet on the floor. 342 on base this year, a 113 WRC plus, 10 home runs. We're on our way. He's starting to click. 9.5% barrel, 44% hard hit. Definitely an interesting player. Love the option on FanDuel because you can move him around the board a little bit to some key positions, and you don't lose quality by doing so. Glaber at 5,000 at 3,200 has a 9.34 in the home run model today. Comes on 9.5% barrels. Super low strikeout, high walk player. 13 home runs on the board, a 117 WRC plus, a 383 xWOB. I said it last year, so it's not just sour grapes. The Yankees should have kept this guy. Drives me nuts that he's on the Tigers. Kerry Carpenter, 52, 32, differently priced across sites, monster power upside, 21 home runs at 270 ISO and 333 chances this year, comes on major premium contact, 15.20 in the home run model to lead this team, stretch of players in the mid-teens as far as the home run model goes, though. Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green, both from the left side, 21, 28 home runs, and then Spencer Torkelson from the right side has 26. That is an average stretch of a 251 ISO. If you threw Wensiel into the mix, which I think is fair, it's 242. Wensiel's hit 9 home runs. He's got a 9.14 in the model today. Sub 20% strikeout, which all three of those guys are not. Making good contact, not as spectacular contact as those guys, but very good. It's an interesting player that people will tend to not roster as aggressively as everybody above him in the lineup. 44 on DraftKings, not doing you that much of a favor. 29 on FanDuel seems pretty generous. Dylan Dingler, another really cheap catcher, 3,800. Monster contact this year, 11 home runs, solid slash line, a 105 WRC plus, productive player, 7.8 in the home run model. McKinstry, more a mix and match quality guy, but having a nice year. 10 home runs, 17 stolen bases, a solid slash, 116 WRC plus out of him. And then Javi's lingering here, 98 WRC plus, 11 home runs. It's been his best season in recent memory, but it hasn't been a good season. I think that would be a stretch. Twins lineup. Again, if you're choosing to attack Charlie, I think it's very doable here. Maybe you get the Twins at a little bit lower ownership just because people are going to Charlie by default because he's fairly priced and he's a name that they know versus the Pearson Olds of the world. So maybe it becomes a situation where you can use some Twins at a 4.58 total to target a pitcher who might be a little bit more owned, and not aggressively so, I don't think, but a little bit more owned by the public than he ought to be. Larnach is only 38-28. He's hit 16 home runs. 171 ISO is nothing great. 103 WRC plus is solidly above average. He's lost a little bit of barrel compared to the last couple seasons. Still hitting the ball hard, though. Low strikeout, high walk. Byron Buxton's a superstar. 24 homers, 17 stolen bases, 279. If he is on the field in a Twins uniform, you can absolutely play him against anybody. He's that kind of guy. Cody Clemens is just 35-27 across multiple positions on both sites. Unreliable hitter, 217, 294, 60. 13 home runs, though, a 243 ISO. Monster premium contact numbers to throw up against this version of Charlie Morton. Cody Clemens, probably an under-the-radar option. Luke Keeschel at 41 at 33 on FanDuel. Expensive on the FanDuel slate, not so much on DraftKings, but priced up a little at second base. 10% barrel, he's hit 2 home runs in 65 chances. He's creating runs like crazy at 207 ISO. He's been an interesting player in that stretch and one of their higher-end prospects. Matty Wallner always hits the ball hard from the left side. A lot of strikeout, but a fair walk rate. 16 home runs and otherwise pretty underwhelming slash line, but a 272 ISO is significant. That's a player that you want to get to if you're going to Twins. Brooks Lee at 27-25, mix and match quality. He's hit 11 home runs, but hasn't really done that much of other noteworthy stuff. Sub 300 xWOBA speaks to that. Just an 80 WRC plus, and we get diminished from there going down the rest of this lineup. Royce Lewis is underperforming his talent, though. To be at a 79 WRC plus, just 5 home runs and 245 plate appearances with this slash line, he's a much better hitter than that. Sub 15.9% strikeout, 7.3% walk, has put good wood on the ball in his batted ball events, but it's just not found the results like we've seen before. With him as cheap as he is, I think he is a fairly high priority item if you're shopping down at the bottom of the Twins lineup. Edward Julian hits the ball hard as well. 3 home runs, sub Mendoza, sub 300 on base, though, 72 WRC plus, a lot of strikeouts. It's just who Edward Julian is. And then Mickey Gasper, a mix and match quality catcher at the absolute best. Probably not even that. Tigers bats in a big way. I'll say Twins bats after that, I think. As we've talked this through, I've lost a little faith in Charlie. But Charlie's right behind the Twins bats, and he's very fairly priced. Do not play Pearson Hole. Even for contrarian reasons, Pearson Hole is not the guy. Now we're on this Yankees game. So as John Hanzo was nice enough to point out a minute ago, Stanton and Wells both out of the lineup for the Yankees. As I was saying, the Stanton thing is something we're going to have to deal with. It is still a deep, very good lineup, but they're better, inarguably, with Giancarlo Stanton in the lineup than not. Ben Rice probably doing the catching today with Wells out of the lineup. Catcher first base eligible on both sides. Very solid bat, 4,400, 3,000 in the 2 spot. 17 home runs, a 224 ISO, a 119 WRC plus. Hits between Trent Grisham, who's just been rocking through the season, and Aaron Judge, who's the best hitter in baseball. They're going up against Andre Palante, who has a 15% strikeout rate, a 4.95 ERA, but a 3.94 xFIP. He doesn't really punch anybody out, but he does have a 10.2% swinging strike rate that maybe bounces off a little bit of the swing and miss that is in the Yankees lineup. I don't expect him to spike a big strikeout day, but what he might do, what he has the potential to do, and what I think you can see most clearly actually in the still above the magic number, but very low for him, 10.68 in the home run model for Aaron Judge, and the fact that everybody else is 6s at best. Andre Palante, demonstrably good at keeping the ball down. 0.4 degree average launch this year, 1.1 degree last year with a 1.57% home run rate, negative 11.5 in relief work the year before that. Obviously, we're not getting that anymore. He has allowed a 3.0% home run rate this year. That's up a little bit, but that's mostly just happenstance. Home runs are weird. But if we're taking the home run ball away from these Yankees, now we're talking about sequencing. They have some very good on-base players. They have some good sequencing. But we don't have much of a walk issue with Andre Palante. So we need Palante to be missing for the Yankees to really push the walk up. They have an 11.2% collective walk rate. They're very, very capable of doing it. But Palante's not necessarily the right guy for that. They're coming into a 4.56 implied total. They're squarely, upper middle part of the board, but they're not one of the absolute top stacks of the day. They have more than enough talent to become one of the absolute top stacks of the day after we start playing baseball tonight, though. It is still the Yankees. Going the other direction, Luis Gil, 75 on DraftKings, 93 on FanDuel. Dramatically different pricing. He's just made 2 starts since coming back from the IL, missed most of the season so far. Last one was quite good, 7 strikeouts, allowed 2 earned runs on a homer, 6 hits, over 5 1/3 against Houston. First one was kind of a mess, 3 1/3 against Miami, 5 earned runs, struck out 3, but walked 4. That's where we run into potential issues with Gil from time to time. Last year struck out 26.8, but walked 12.1. That's an unsustainably high walk rate. 3.50 ERA, but a 4.36 xFIP. Also allowed some premium contact in there. The hard hits, the exit velo were manageable, but a 9.4% barrel that was pushed up by that 19-degree average launch angle can lead to some home run issues. And when you combine that with a heavy walk rate, it gets ugly in a hurry. So there is visible downside with Gil, but he's very playable here. He's going up against the Cards lineup with a 22.2% strikeout rate. He's got them down at a 4.04 implied total. Over on DraftKings, that is one of the more appealing guys from like the middle of the board as far as price goes, with a fairly high ceiling that's maybe not Framber DeGrom level, but as appreciably high as basically anybody else on this board. He projects there, and his ceiling rivals anybody not in those top 2 spots. I do think the Cards bats would be loosely in play, though, if you're going to chase the downside of Luis Gil, which again could be significant. But starting with the Yankees, Trent Grisham at 4,000, at 3,000, 21 home runs, 346 on base, creating runs, just a dynamic player. He does a lot out on the field in addition to great defense, 14.6% barrel rate on the season. Ben Rice at 15.8, I talked about him briefly, leading into Aaron Judge. Those are two fairly high-quality on-base guys who draw double-digit walk rates, don't strike out that much, hitting ahead of Judge, who has 38 home runs, a 353 ISO. He's creating runs. He's back up to 100% better than the average player by WRC+. 24.4% barrel rate. He's just ridiculous. Very expensive, very well worth it. Cody Bellinger at 53, at 34, 22 homers, 10 stolen bases on the season. Creating runs 24% better than average, a 333 xWOBA under the surface. He's up to a 221 ISO. Just a great year out of Bellinger. Solid pickup by the Yanks. Jazz Chisholm, solid contact. Same thing with Anthony Volpe this year. A lot of strikeout from both those players. Jazz can draw the walk. Volpe less so, more of an aggressive free swinger type. 20 home runs, 17 stolen bases for Jazz. Volpe's up to 18 and 15. There's a lot to dislike about Anthony Volpe around the edges, but when we're just talking about that stretch, the counting stats that we care about for DFS, that is a productive player. He scores DFS points. Not reliably, not on every slate. 219, 288, 422 speaks to that, but a 200-plus ISO from a very affordable shortstop against a pitcher who does nothing but allow contact. I'm less worried about the strikeout. I'm less worried about the free swinging. So Volpe's very much on the board here. Climbing up the lineup a little bit, too. Jason Dominguez at 34, 28, 9 home runs, 19 stolen bases, still getting on at a very solid 330 clip. They haven't gotten the power output that they were looking for from this kid so far this season, but he does have a 50% hard hit rate. Drawing a 10% walk rate as a rookie. Not bad. First full season. Ryan McMahon hiding down the bottom of the lineup. 16 home runs from the left side, a 169 ISO overall, but a very solid 342 xWOBA on 12.3% barrels and 50% hard hits. Ryan McMahon has always been a capable 3 true outcomes type of a hitter. To throw him up against, again, a pitcher that I don't worry about the strikeout with. Maybe he draws the walk. Maybe he puts the ball in play with authority. It's an interesting bat. The one thing that checks all of the quality for each of these guys is Palante's ability to keep the ball down. So we do have to consider that in the ongoing sense as we talk about these Yankees. And then Jose Caballero at the bottom of the lineup, 35 stolen bases, one of the league leaders in stolen bases. Doesn't do all that much else, but an interesting pickup for this team. Brendan Donovan at 38, at 28 on FanDuel, playing most of the positions on the board. Solid season, 9 homers, 3 steals, but a very good slash line, a 112 WRC+, excellent table setter. Mason Wynn, just another shortstop. There's really nothing special about Mason Wynn, 99 WRC+. Alec Burleson at 41, at 31, outfield and first base eligible, 9.4% barrel, 41.6% hard hit. He's up to 15 home runs. Excellent slash line at 282, 334, 450, 119 WRC+. The thing with Alec Burleson is, you can't have a major league team where Alec Burleson is your best player. If Alec Burleson was in the Jason Dominguez role on the Yankees, we'd be talking about how valuable his contributions were. Right now, he's just, he's good, but he's their best player. This is an underwhelming lineup overall. Ivan Herrera at 42, at 3,000. 294, 371, 457, 10 home runs. A regular outfielder now. Lost the catcher eligibility on DK. I feel like he's been good for sure, but more just another outfielder where he would have been maybe special with catcher eligibility. Not great. Lars Nootbaar at 39, at 3,013 home runs. Came into this season, I was saying he was their best player, but he really hasn't lived up to that mantle. 102 WRC+, just slightly above the average. A 155 ISO on the season is disappointing. Comes on excellent premium contact numbers from the left side. I'll say that much. If we're chasing against Luis Gil, Nootbaar would be in my lineup, as would the next guy, Nolan Gorman. Solid barrel and hard hit out of him. He's hit 10 homers in 261 chances, a 181 ISO. But again, this is not where I expect him to be, outside of maybe the home run total in that sample. But he's a 200 plus ISO and needs to be to really find his upside. Jordan Walker at 29, at 25 is super affordable. Another guy who's really disappointed me this year. I was banging the drum for him as hey, this kid's going to perform this season. Was underappreciated for what he did in his rookie year. Still making good contact. Striking out too much, not walking enough. Terrible slash line. 75 WRC plus. Any given slate upside for sure, though. Pedro Paz, Victor Scott, mix and match quality players. Victor Scott, 31 stolen bases, despite only a 309 clip from the on-base clip from the bottom of the lineup. A playable, lineup finisher, but not a priority bat in any way. Luis Gil on DraftKings, Yankees bats, Luis Gil on FanDuel, Cardinals bats, Andre Palante. Coors Field. We're not talking about Tanner Gordon. That's a batting tee for the Diamondbacks. 7 implied total. It's going to be another night like last night. Take advantage of Diamondbacks bats, even as the chalk team of the day. We just saw yesterday, right? We talked about it on the show. We talked about the value of going to the high probability scoring team. We've got a bigger slate today. So I do think they are more avoidable than they were on that 5-gamer yesterday. But your most likely path is that there are going to be multiple Diamondbacks in the winning lineup again today because there's just so much scoring available here. You're also showing a ton of power on the board for the D-backs. So I think we just go there and you get different in other spots in a lot of lineups. Brendan Pfaadt is the wrinkle. 5.03 ERA, but a 4.10 xFIP. That's quite a bit lower. 18.7% strikeouts is not special, but it's manageable against just a 5% walk rate. He's been better than that for strikeout. He's given up when he runs into trouble. It comes via the premium contact, via the power a lot of the time. 12.1% barrel, 47.2% hard hit, 91.3 miles an hour of exit velo, dramatically over our emergency thresholds in every one of those 3 categories. Very lucky to be at just 3.60% home run rate. Where is he? There he is. Last handful of starts. Really just one very bad one since the beginning of July, let's say. 7 earned runs against the Tigers at Detroit over just 4 2/3. Ugly day, gave up 3 home runs that day. 4 earned runs back on July 3rd against San Francisco over 6. Struck out 8, kind of balanced the equation a little bit. 8 innings start against the Padres, but only struck out 4, allowed 2 runs. Reasonable quality. Very good 7-inning game against the Cards. And then a couple of 5 and change with medium, 2-3 runs allowed. Handful of strikeouts. He's lost a little bit of the edge with strikeout stuff. Last year's 24.3% on an 11.4% swinging strike rate. These Rockies could feed that back to him today. 22.6% strikeout rate for this confirmed version of the lineup, but major stretches of significant home run downside. You are really playing with fire. And like I said at the beginning, I think it's even more dangerous than using Erod yesterday, which we succeeded with in a big way. So maybe we don't get greedy and try and double dip with Brendan Pfaadt on day 2. But he's there. He's only 7,000 on DraftKings. That is tempting. Fortunately, on FanDuel, he's 8,600, and we just don't need to worry about it. Diamondbacks bats continue to roll with this top 3. I love that. Geraldo Perdomo in the top spot at 56.41 on-base machine, 388 on base. Having a very good season, 13 homers, 19 steals, a 134 WRC+. Doesn't hit the ball particularly hard, but also doesn't strike out. Draws a higher walk rate than a strikeout rate. That's an excellent attribute to have in your top 2 hitters there. Ketel Marte, mashing baseballs, 23 home runs, excellent slash, 162 WRC+. Maybe even more to give with that 416 xWOB under the surface. He's been outrageously good this year. Top second baseman in the sport. 64.46. A little difficult to reach at those prices. You get a little average down opportunity through there. But as we looked at yesterday, it's very tough to put all of the Diamondbacks together from the top. We do have a lot of quality to use through here, though. No Del Castillo in the lineup today, though, unfortunately. Corbin Carroll at 66.47. Monster pricing. Monster player, 26 home runs, 14 steals, a 135 WRC+, a 302 ISO under the surface, right at the surface, excuse me. 15.4% barrel and 50.5% hard hit. He's just a superstar. You're absolutely looking to play Corbin Carroll if you're going to the Diamondbacks at Coors Field. Lourdes Gurriel at 52 at 35, 15 homers, 10 stolen bases on the season. Underperforming in a lot of ways across some of this, but a very solid 13.8% strikeout rate. We just get a lot of bat on ball out of Gurriel that just plays up in such a big way at Coors Field with this giant ballpark that I really want to get to that spot if I'm going Diamondbacks. Also creeps up to a 10+ in the home run model today. Jake McCarthy, mix and match quality, has been pretty poor over his 134 plate appearances so far this year. More just another outfielder, but you get a cheap enough price in a good lineup spot at Coors to help average down some pricing up there. It's helpful. Tyler Locklear is a lot more interesting at 39 at 3,000. Despite his bad first 55 plate appearances here, it's a good player. We talked about his minor league numbers over the course of several shows already. Alec Thomas, 38-31. Another mix and match quality outfielder. Not all that much daylight between McCarthy and Thomas talent-wise. Thomas, rather, has had the better season, over 350 chances this year, but not by much. Just an 88 WRC plus. If you really break it down, there's not that much difference between the two. Neither one has been all that good this year. James McCann at 43-32. Solid slash line over 78 plate appearances. 51% hard hits is interesting in Coors. 10.3% walk to throw on top of that fire. There's a little bit of quality there. 121 WRC plus so far in the small sample. Player we've seen a lot of success from over time. Is just coming into this year, I would not have had James McCann on my bingo card. Alexander at 4,000 at 3,100. Very playable piece. 263, 358, 463 stretch, over 111 plate appearances, kind of delivering on the expectations from his prospect pedigree. 200 ISO on the nose, 13.6% barrel rate so far. It's gotten interesting down the bottom of the lineup. It's just the cores of this. That's, if you take any of those other catchers we've talked about that have been in the, low prices, the threes, the low fours on DraftKings today, and put them in this core spot, I feel like they'd be higher priced. So I think I do have to say that 43 for McCann is a little bit generous considering the cores of it. Is there a path to getting the top three in? You have to skip Gurriel for sure. Obviously, you get Locklear, who I think is going to be popular again, and you're at 56. I don't think there's a path to get all three of those guys. I mean, if you go McCarthy, 52-40, you can do it, but you're really compromising some other spots. I feel like the best way is you're going to have to make a sacrifice most of the time between, if not one of those two, one of those three. Even if you go that, and we'll still skip Gurriel, we'll just go there. 48-80, just under 5. That's the best you can do to get both Ketel Marte and Corbin Carroll in your lineup. It's not great. They made it very challenging as far as those prices go. On FanDuel, you can rip through the top 4 there at 42.25. I, again, feel that is very high price. Don't get me wrong. But that 4-man combo, I think, is more playable on FanDuel for whatever is. Just the way that the cap works and how cheap other options are over there. Rockies, as usual, and especially with Brandon Pfaadt and his apparent downside on the board here, very much in play as well on the other side of Coors Field. And as we've talked about a lot through this year, that is something that people tend to overlook. These guys are also playing this game in that same upside ballpark. 5+ implied total for them is one of the higher marks on the board. It's just not 7. But Tyler Freeman's had a great year. 304, 380, 393, a 107 WRC plus. Mickey Moniak, 18 home runs, a 257 ISO, and 333 plate appearances. Can we give Mickey Moniak 700 plate appearances, 600 plate appearances, and see what he can do for a change? 13.4% barrel, 46.3% hard hit for the year. Dude's just good. 4,000, 3,300 at Coors Field. Take advantage of cheap pricing. Hunter Goodman for 5 for 35. 24 homers on the board and 431 chances this year. One of the most expensive catchers on the DraftKings slate, but worth it if you're going in the Rockies direction. Their top priority hitter overall. Jordan Beck at 42 at 34. Playable. 14 homers, 14 steals, a 109 WRC plus. Warming Bernabel in the next spot. 3 homers and just 70 plate appearances. Been good since his call-up. 246 ISO, creating runs 15% better than average. Is it going to hold up? I don't think so, given the 289 xWOBA, the total lack of premium contact. But low strikeout, low walk, you get a lot of balls in play, which at Coors makes a difference. Just put the ball in play. Kyle Karros, one of their top prospects, 283, 57, 400 start to his career, 102 WRC plus. Hasn't barreled the ball yet, but there's talent there. Brent Doyle, another talented guy, dramatically underperforming that talent over the entire season. 11 homers, 11 steals, and 396 chances from a guy who went 23-30 last year in 603. Little bit of a dip, but a quality player at 35, at 33 in Coors Field, going up against this pitcher. If I'm hunting around for somebody who will be under-owned, I think, from the bottom of this lineup, or toward the bottom, Brent Doyle at 3,500 against the downside part of Brandon Pfaadt is very interesting. Junkiel Fernandez and Ryan Ritter to round things out. 69 mediocre plate appearances out of Fernandez and 113 pretty mediocre plate appearances out of Ritter. Both guys are cheap. Both guys are mix and match quality. D-backs bats, Rockies bats, Brandon Fought in case of emergency kind of an option, mostly only on DraftKings. At 86, I think you're crazy if you're going there on FanDuel. Nobody'd be doing it. So, I mean, if you're just looking to be contrarian for contrarian's sake, then sure. Contrarianism's sake, then sure. But ain't going to work out for you. Yeah, Lara, I tried to do that too. Picking up Jordan Walker in the Dynasty League, being happy that you got him. Yeah, I wouldn't say you were a fool. There's good reason to have thought that. And as we've said many, many times, development is not linear. And we've seen quality at the major league level out of that player. And he is still 23 years old, 2 months and 24 days. So, yeah, he's disappointed you since you picked him up. But I hope you didn't drop him. I would keep him. I really would. I think there is a major bat lurking in there waiting to come out. And at that young of an age, it's not crazy that he hasn't been performing to his talent at the major league level yet. He's just a little bit rushed, underdeveloped. Yeah, they called him up. Those 465 plate appearances that I talk about in 2023, where he hit 16 home runs, slash 276, 342, 445, created a run 16% better than average, and nobody seems to care. That came as a 21-year-old. That is super aggressive promotion. Hit 19 home runs in Double-A as a 20-year-old, hit 14 home runs across A-ball and high A as a 19-year-old. There's talent there. I wish we were in the same league. I'd offer you a trade. Angels bats at 5.16 implied total. Athletics just under a 5-run total. It's Yusei Kikuchi. It's Jack Perkins. Both pitchers are unfortunately kind of interesting on this slate. I wish that wasn't the case. I hate this ballpark. I hate using pitching in this ballpark. I mean, I like this ballpark for bats, but it's dicey for pitching. 88 for Kikuchi is a fair price. 96 is aggressive on FanDuel, especially in this park. 3.37 ERA, but a 4.06 xFIP. 24.3% strikeouts is fine, but 9.7% walks is too many. 1.42 whip is way too many opportunities. He's punched his way out of trouble throughout this season. He hasn't given up home runs like he has in years past, which is one of the biggest factors in that. But if we change the dynamics of how that's going to work today, given this ballpark, given these extreme home run hitters that the A's have, then we're probably looking at, okay, this is a problem. That's a problem because there's more opportunity for these guys to get beyond this, 2.83% home run rate that he's got for the season. And that comes on 91.5 miles an hour of exit velo, 42% hard hits, 9.1% barrels. All those numbers look consistent with the guy who was at 3.40% home runs last year, 3.86 the year before, and 5.07 going back to 2022. Home runs and walks have always been an issue for Kikuchi. There is always quality there. You can get through this A's team with him. I think he's more akin to Erod last night at Coors Field, but you're doing it at a higher price. This is more expensive than what we had Erod at Coors Field last night. So I don't know that we go there that much. I will say it's a talented pitcher who could deliver at probably pretty low ownership. So through that one lens, he's on the board, but it's challenging at this price. Less challenging at that price, but still, that's one of the more aggressive SP2 prices on the board, or it's a low-end SP1. Different story here. 59, 67. We talked about Jack Perkins a couple times already on this show, but a 4.08 ERA, 4.21 xFIP in his 28 2/3. Some relief work in there. Was missing bats at a 15+% rate. 15.5% swinging strike rate in the show. That's not nothing. That is a noteworthy attribute. Yeah, some of that came at in relief work where it was max effort. He's got a blazing fastball. Really interesting pitcher. And the fact that he went 6 against Baltimore in his last start, just on the 9th, faced 22 hitters, allowed 3 earned runs. They came on 3 hits, 1 home run allowed, struck out 5, walked 1 for 5,900, for 6,700. If I can get to that 6-inning threshold, I'm really interested. But the Angels have a lot of power. So I'm a little concerned there. Their power, I thought they were, hold on. Their power should be showing up more here. Just noticing that. I didn't catch that earlier in the day. There's a little small sample impact there. These Angels power numbers are going to go up before lock. I'm going to make sure to. That's just a product of limited sample of just 28 and 2/3 innings. I'm glad I caught it. They're the number 2 ranked team by projection average. You can see that through here. Just not reflected as much in the home run model, which runs as on a separate track. Apologies for that. I'll get it fixed before we hit lineup building time in the next. Well, as we hit lineup building time in the next little bit. But major power on the board for the Angels. That's what they do. You can see all those 20 home run totals. It's a top 6 has a 209 average ISO. It's an impressive home run hitting team, but they have a ton of strikeout, 25.4% strikeout rate for this projected version of the lineup. So I do think there's upside on the board for Perkins at both sides price. Angels bats, though, again, very much on the board. This ballpark helps everybody out. 19 home runs, 21 stolen bases for Neto at the top, 119 WRC plus with a 207 ISO. Just been tremendous, but strikes out a lot. Doesn't draw that many walks. Hits the ball very squarely when he connects. Shanuel's on base all the time. Low strikeout, high walk rate. Could give Jack Perkins some fits, but not a major bat as far as his power. 10 home runs and 506 plate appearances. Mike Trout, 20 homers. Taylor Ward, 29. 25 downboard for Joe Adell. That's where the big stretch of power comes from. And then you have a little gap if O'Hoppy's in the lineup with 18 homers down here with a 185 ISO, 51.1% hard hit, 14.4% barrel out of him. In between, Joel Moncada, 8 home runs and 183 chances is not a bad total either. 214 ISO, 12.4% barrel rate. Luis Renifo's been more mix and match quality guy this year. 78 WRC plus. That's coming off of a very good season last year. 117 WRC plus over 304 plate appearances last year. Not showing us the same kind of quality. At 31 and 24, he's usable, but not a major appeal. And then Bryce Teodosio has had a pretty solid 30 plate appearances, 357, 379, 500. Come on. He hit for power a little bit back in AA all the way back in 2022 as a 23-year-old, but really has not since. 97 plate appearances in the minors this season, just 1 home run, 10 stolen bases, though. 462 AAA plate appearances as a 25-year-old last year, just 5 home runs, but stole 40 bases. So maybe as a wraparound guy, considering the on-base, the stolen base upside to loop back into these guys, that's where I would use Teodosio. Athletics bats. If we can get through with the A's a little bit sneaky against Kikuchi here, maybe some upside in that. A lot of benefit from this ballpark for them. Shea Langoliers at 11.39, home run pick of the day, because why not? 24 homers on the year for him, a 270 ISO, 131 WRC plus. Those home run picks, by the way, are available at rotoscouts.com, where everything is accessible for under $1 a day. You get all these projections for every single one of the 200 some odd hitters on the board. You get every single home run model number, including the ones that I'll fix from over here in a minute. You get the top stacks, the power index, pitcher projections. You get the game by game snapshot. So you get this exact screen with all the stats, all the projections, game by game, in static form on the website for you to peruse at your leisure. All for under $1 a day at Rotoscouts. So is NFL, NBA, NHL when those start back up. Same dollar a day gets you in. $5 weeklies through the end of August, as has been scrolling across your screen all show long. A's bats. So as I was saying, Shea Langoliers, home run pick of the day to lead things off. I like him in that leadoff role if they go back there, which we got that confirmed. They did. Just bonus plate appearances for a very hard-hitting catcher kind of works for me. He's cut strikeout dramatically this year, as we've talked about. It's been just a more interesting, more complete hitter. Brent Rooker, same story. Been more interesting, more complete hitter. 24 home runs. Maybe the power has dipped slightly, but that's still an excellent home run total, 222 ISO. He's backed up by Nick Kurtz, who's at 23 home runs now, 317 ISO. The kid's been an absolute monster since arriving in the show. 6,100, 4,000. Priced like the superstar hitter that he's looking like. Colby Thomas at 23-24. Mix and match quality from the middle of the lineup. Darryl Hernaiz climbing the lineup today. No Soderstrom. No Butler. diminished version of the A's lineup, actually, after we get to the 4 spot. But both of these guys usable. Ernaiz at 3,200 at 28 at shortstop, 217, 321, 391, a pair of home runs and 95 WRC plus. 262 mediocre plate appearances at a JJ Bleday outside of 10 homers, a 182 ISO from a guy who's just an average kind of a bat. Can draw a walk, can square one up from time to time. 36-26, he's very cheap. Willie McIver at 28 at the dead min on FanDuel has a pair of home runs. Man, he's not doing their Friday night fans all that many favors with this lineup. 7 home runs for him in AAA this year, 235 plate appearances, a very solid 362, 426, 541 slash line, though. Mix and match at best. Brett Harris at the dead min price on both sides. Yeah, we saw him for a minute, right? 123 plate appearances in the show last year. Sub Mendoza, sub 300 on base, 65 WRC plus, 3 home runs. In 255 chances in the minors this year. 289, 376, 514 with a 225 slash line, a dozen home runs, 7 stolen bases. There's a little bit of advanced age. Missed some time as well, it looks like. 321 mostly AAA plate appearances last year. Just 9 home runs, 6 stolen bases. Square, like mid-board average type player, I would say, but very, very cheap at the dead min price. You get 2 dead min prices on FanDuel. And then Luis Urias, little playability down there, 8 home runs on the board. It's a nothing player in a nothing season, but every now and then you get a little bit of pop that's completely unowned at second base and doesn't cost anything. So he's playable, especially in this ballpark. Man, I got to lean bats. I'm just going to go with the Angels, A's, Kikuchi, Perkins. Both those pitchers are on the board, but keep it in perspective. And Kikuchi actually probably less on the board just because of those prices. So you're just looking to get contrarian and really walk a tightrope with Kikuchi price where he is. Perkins, less challenging because of those low prices. Padres, Dodgers. Dodgers at a big total going up against Randy Vasquez, who is back from the minor leagues. He went down there. He made one pretty bad start. Hasn't completed the 5th inning, let alone the 6th inning since the 4th of July. He went 6 that day, allowed 2 earned runs, struck out just 1. Since then, he's made 4 starts, hasn't gotten out of the 5th, has pitched into the 5th in 3 of the 4. Across those 4 starts, those 17 innings, he has 6 total strikeouts. It's against the Diamondbacks, the Marlins, and the Cardinals twice. It's not a good pitcher, guys. 3.93 ERA, but a 5.98 xFIP completely betrays him. 11.8% strikeouts, 10.3% walks, 12% barrel. A lot of hard hit and exit velo. Lucky to be at a 2.99% home run rate considering everything's a fly ball. Dodgers potential tee-off spot against Randy Vasquez. Clay Kershaw at 77 at 81. It's just the low strikeout, decently high scoring nature of the Padres that I think would be the impact here. 16.8% strikeout rate on average for this projected version of the lineup. Kershaw's pitching to just a 15.5% strikeout rate on 9.7% swinging so far this season. We did see him get out to 6 innings of clean baseball in each of his last 2 starts. Good one against the Blue Jays where he outdueled Max Scherzer. They both went 6. He gave up 7 hits, but only 1 earned run, struck out 4 and walked 1. 6 innings of 5-hit ball, shut out the Rays over 6. 3 strikeouts, no walk. It's okay for the money. It's not an upside start, but could you get through with that as an SP2 at 77 if you spike the other one pretty nicely? Yeah. 4.20 implied total for the Pods, though. They're in play. Nando Tatis still stuck at 17 home runs. He has not hit a home run since... Wait, that can't be right. Why would it give me 50-year-old Fernando Tatis Sr.? I was like, he hasn't hit a home run since May 19th, 2010. That can't be right. But Junior's had him had a little bit of a gap in his home run production this year. He hit his last home run on July 24th. He has 2 home runs since July 10th and only 3 since June 23rd. Not exactly the monster power output that we would expect from a player of his pedigree with that kind of premium contact. 266, 370, 435. He's still finding plenty of success. Still a valuable player, 13.1% walk rate, outrageous on base, 129 WRC plus. Just a little lost for power lately. Luis Ariz at 36, at 27, very affordable as a table setter ahead of Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Jackson Merrill. I just wish that he would also hit ahead of Fernando Tatis. They're stubborn about it. Very cheap for a guy with a very good hit tool, doesn't strike out, literally 2.8% strikeout rate, 4.9% walk. Everything is just in play. Machado at 48, at 35, a little cheap on DraftKings. 20 homers, 11 stolen bases, a 139 WRC plus. Monster season out of Manny, throwback season. 41-29 for Xander Bogaerts, 10 home runs, 19 steals for him. A very solid on base, 109 WRC plus. Having a strong season, underappreciated player in the middle of the lineup. Jackson Merrill at 44-29, diminished from what we saw last year, but still an adequate year. 361 xWOBA under the surface, 9 home runs and 376 plate appearances isn't great, but that slash line isn't bad. 107 WRC plus is above average. Ramon Laureano outperforming him in every way. 17 home runs, most of which came with the Orioles. 149 WRC plus, a 243 ISO. Best possible version of Ramon Laureano, but we've had him for a pretty solid stretch of the season. 340 plate appearances deep now. Jose Iglesias and Freddie Fermin down lineup. Iglesias mostly a dead spot. I'm not really sure why he's hitting 7th. Just kind of a lost spot in the lineup there. Mix and match at the absolute best just to fill a position. Cronenworth is more interesting than that. 36 is not a bad price for him at second base. 28 on FanDuel is usable. Okay season for him. 120 WRC plus is very appealing. The 361 on base is where a lot of that comes from. That's where he gains most of his appeal. As a wraparound guy, you could do worse. And then Freddie is kind of cheap at 23. Not that we're lacking for cheap catchers on DraftKings today. He's got a 269, 321, 359 slash line, over 242 plate appearances. He's not the most productive hitter, but he's always putting the ball in play. He doesn't really strike out that much, draws just a medium walk rate. Last season hit 271, 319, 366 over 368 chances. The year before in 235, 281, 321, 461. Showed a little bit of pop in each of those seasons. Not a big time power hitter, but a very capable bat that nobody is going to be using down the bottom of this Padres lineup. Assuming he's there, this is the projected version. Could get interesting. Dodgers lineup came in. Again, just a major spot. 5.42 implied total for them going up against Vasquez here. Seems pretty gettable to me. Shohei at a 15.4 in the home run model. He's undeniable. 43 home runs on the board this year, a 346 ISO, 174 WRC plus. He's been tremendous. Mookie Betts at 48-32, continuing to bounce his way through the season. 244, 314, 370, way underperforming what we would expect from Mookie Betts. Maybe it never comes back. Who knows? But still going to him in the 2 spot in the Dodgers lineup if you're building with Dodgers. It's just, down from expectations. Below average WRC plus, 91 WRC plus out of Mookie Betts. Not what you would expect. 49-35 for Will Smith seems pretty generous. 15 home runs, a 312, 416, 524 slash line, 163 WRC plus. Freddie Freeman, superstar first baseman, still 300, 372, 480. 14 home runs and 460 plate appearances. The ISO has dipped a little. The home run pace has dipped a little, but it's not problematic. He's still tremendous, a 136 WRC plus. Price has honestly come down a little bit. Teoscar Hernandez, monster premium contact guy. 45-31, 18 home runs and 398 plate appearances, a 205 ISO. Excellent option. Andy Paz at 42 at 31, 19 homers, 11 steals this season. A 180 ISO, 116 WRC plus. Been a good year for Paz. Since the break, 250, 302, 375, just an 89 WRC plus, just a 125 ISO, 2 home runs. That's 96 plate appearances. Again, an insignificant sample that I don't really love talking about. You can extend that back a little ways. If we go to and it's honestly not problematic. I moved it back to June 15th. and 7 home runs, 274, 324, 41. Since the beginning of July, if you want to play that game, 248, 303, 361, 3 homers. So that's where the dip maybe started. Was beginning in July, just a 113 ISO. 87 WRC plus. With a young player like this, you're going to expect him to hit stretches of that diminished performance. But we know what the upside looks like. And if that takes ownership away, that makes him really interesting at 42, at 31, kind of in the heart of this Dodgers lineup. Michael Conforto, a player that people aren't going to go to all that aggressively. He has a 9.4% barrel rate, 42.3% hard hits. Sub Mendoza, sub 300 on base, 81 WRC plus. I totally get it. 9 home runs. He isn't even really on pace for even this contact over that many plate appearances. 341 xWOB is interesting. This contact is interesting. That walk rate is interesting. Strikeout rate's not problematic. Lefty bat, cheap price against one of the most gettable righties in the game. Michael Conforto is interesting. Alex Freeland at 26-22 and Miguel Rojas at 28-25. Mix and match quality to round out the Dodgers lineup. Dodgers bats. Padres bats. Clay, don't use Randy Vasquez. Closing it out. Oh, I have good news, everybody. Your NFL 2025 all-game stream is here at NFL CBS, com. That must be on the new internet. NFL CBS, com. Yeah, Larry, I agree with you. That Mookie Betts health issue. Definitely lost all that weight on the Japan trip. I actually removed somebody from the chat. I think that's the first time I've ever done it. Just to get those comments out of the way. Larry said I'm going down with the ship with him with Jordan Walker. I like it, buddy. I'm telling you, I think that one's going to work out. Might not even be next year, but you got time. Dynasty League. Bob Seymour is in the lineup for the Rays, or in the projected lineup anyway. Big call up for them. High-end prospect. Not available on our sites as of last check. I'll give it one last look before we start the slate after the show's over. He has 30 home runs in AAA this year. He's 26. So it's like, maybe we're slightly beyond where we would have wanted him. But 30 home runs is significant. A 290 ISO, 263, 327, 553 so far this year. Last year he hit 28 homers in mostly AAA. Half and half, AA, AAA. 28 home runs. 281, 351, 523. Kid's got very real power. Again, probably not going to be available to us, but is in the lineup today, which challenges Landon Roop a little bit. Up at the top of the Rays, you get Chandler Simpson, Brandon Lau, Johnny Diaz, Josh Lowe. The reason I'm not at all enthused about the Rays today, even against the version of Landon Roop that's probably not even going to give us 5, I just get worried around his ability to check home run power. He's kept the ball to a 9.8 degree average launch this year, 1.79% home runs allowed, pitching to a 3.11 ERA, a 4.05 xFIP, 21.3% strikeouts against 9.4% walks. He's just been, kind of okay across the board outside of this pretty sparkling ability to check premium contact and check power and keep the launch angle down. Just 35.8% hard hits, 88.4 miles an hour of exit velo. That is somebody who is effectively inducing weak and medium contact. But he's only going to be in there for 3-4 innings. Joe Boyle at 54 at 77. 24.4% Ks against 12.6% walks. Not ideal, but you can see what Stuff Plus thinks of him. He has a tremendous arsenal of pitches. Those have also led into a lot of premium contact on a significant fly ball trajectory and nearly a 4% home run rate so far in just 4 starts, 30 and 2/3 innings. Had tremendous numbers through the minor leagues this year. At this price, you're still taking a chance. Even in this pitcher-friendly park, the Giants are at a 4.24 implied total. But there are definitely strikeouts on deck for Boyle. He went 3 1/3 in the last one. 3 1/3 to start before that with a 5-inning start in the middle. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, the 5 innings came against the Dodgers. He kept them off the board, allowed just 3 hits, but only struck out 2, walked 2. So mixed quality there. More opportunity for K's against the Giants, but a little bit of danger as well. I think you play him at this price, maybe even a little aggressively. At that price, I don't know that we're getting our quality start bonus and we probably need it on a deep pitching slate. Starting at the top with the Rays, Chandler Simpson, speed burner, 33 stolen bases, a 337 on base, an excellent hit tool, 4,100 on DraftKings, 2,900 on FanDuel. I feel like DraftKings cooled that price off a little bit. They had it in the mid fours earlier, and it was problematic. 46, 3,000 is fair for Brendan Lau, 5.30 in the home run model with 24 on the board, at 227 ISO this season in a mostly healthy season, 405 plate appearances from him. All he needs is to be on the field, and he's a tremendous power bat at second base from the left side. But again, this kid takes away a lot of premium contact expectation. Johnny Diaz at 48-31 runs into a similar kind of problem here. 20 home runs, a 184 ISO, solid slash line. Very good options for on base. So if we're going to beat Roop, it's probably going to be through sequencing with these players. Johnny would be a part of it, hits the ball extremely hard, low strikeout, medium walk rate. So maybe something that could exploit the high walk rate, the low strikeout rate of Landon Roop. Josh Lowe at 4,000 at 2,900. Down season overall, 7 home runs, 12 stolen bases, just an 88 WRC plus, but a player we know is more capable than that. Junior Caminero at 51 at 37. Look what the Roop situation is doing even to Junior, 5.07 on the home run model. He's got 34 on the season. He's got a 270 ISO. Kid's a major power bat. If anybody's getting to Landon Roop, it's either him or Brendan Lau. Or maybe Bob Seymour, who we can't have. Jake Mangum at 34-27. We're all the way down to 275, 313, 345, a .070 ISO, an 85 WRC plus, a 281 xWOBA. I told you this guy wasn't good. Just took a minute for him to get to the not good status. 33-26 for Ha-Seong Kim, a player who I think is actually good. Had a down year last year. Had an excellent year the year before, and has kind of scuffled his way through 76 plate appearances after finally coming back from injury this season. He's usable, but probably not a high priority, especially in this ballpark, especially against his pitcher and with a team that we're probably not going to that much. Hunter Fiducia at the bottom of the lineup, 27 plate appearances of pretty much ineptitude so far. At best, a mix and match, nearly dead mid price catcher if he's in the lineup. And then we round things out with the Giants. Elliot Ramos at 4,000 at 2,900. That's 14 home runs. Feel like we've been diminished in price, and those numbers have come down a little bit over the last stretch, but a 113 WRC plus on the season. A kid who hit 22 home runs and had a 200 ISO with a 120 WRC plus over 518 chances last year. Maybe a dip in quality overall, but still a very high-end performer for a cheap price. Rafi Devers at 51 at 37 has 23 home runs, but again, another guy who's run into a little bit of trouble since arriving in San Francisco. Overall, still 211 ISO, 134 WRC plus, remains Rafi Devers, and going up against a pitcher with a lot of upside, but also a lot of visible flaws. I think Devers is very much on the board. Casey Schmidt, Dom Smith, two hitters that are mediocre at best in the middle of the lineup. Neither guy hits for all that much power. 156 ISO with 7 home runs and 213 plate appearances is decent output for Casey Schmidt. Comes on medium quality of contact, but I think that's a little bit of an outlier as far as that home run total. And then Dom Smith has never really hit for home runs, but he has a decent enough hit tool. 276, 336, 403. If he's hitting fourth, it's okay. I'd rather have probably Willie Adames, Matt Chapman in that spot, move those guys, the actual power hitters, up the lineup. Willie kind of rounded his season into form, 18 home runs, down to a 99 WRC plus. He had it above 100 for a minute. 331 xWOBA, but still hitting the ball extremely hard. Still an interesting shortstop, fairly priced at 44.29 and cheap compared to where he was last year. Jung-Hoo Lee at 35.29, mix and match quality line drive hitter. Can have productive days. 106 WRC plus is definitely something to point at. Medium quality on base percentage. He's low strikeout, low walk, so you get a lot of balls in play out of him. Matt Chapman, 10.2% barrel, 48.8% hard hit, 16 home runs and 403 plate appearances. A little bit of a dip in the slash line overall, but still carrying a solid 337 on base, given the 12.9% walk rate. Still a tremendous option. Maybe a little bit, couple $100 cheaper than he ought to be. And then Patty Bailey and Drew Gilbert are also in Giants uniforms down the bottom of the lineup today. 65 WRC plus from Bailey. Hasn't been a good 329 plate appearances out of him. Gilbert in 408 plate appearances as a 24-year-old in mostly AAA in the Mets system this year. 243, 347, 430 over there with 12 home runs, 4 stolen bases. Overall, in 408 minor league plate appearances, we're up to 14 home runs, 262, 369, 466 with a 204 ISO. Maybe a little sneaky if you're getting carried away with your Giants lineups. Little sneaky down toward the bottom there. Giants bats. Joe Boyle on DraftKings. Rays bats. Joe Boyle on FanDuel. Actually, you know what? Put both Joe Boyles in the same spot. It's Giants bats, then Joe Boyle, then Rays bats, and I don't think we get enough depth of start out of Landon Roop to consider him. That was the last game, right? Yeah. All right. That's your show. Here's the pitching board one last time. Todd Strong, I've been here, so I couldn't tell you, but maybe somebody else in the chat would know. Larry likes Boyle and Perkins, which scares the crap out of him. Yep, I agree completely. We talked about that back at the beginning of the show, and it has not changed over the course of the show. But there's your pitching board one last time. 2 primo options up top in Fromber and Jacob deGrom, and everything else is a risk at best. There are some hot spots in there. I think Luis Gil for 75 is really interesting. Cameron is usable against the White Sox, but high-priced. Kikuchi is usable against the Athletics, but high-priced. Cantillo, I question that now with Acuna back, what the real quality of that looks like. I believe the median projection is still correct, but I think it limits the ceiling a little bit more. Bassett is just Chris Bassett, priced like Chris Bassett, looks like Chris Bassett going up against the gettable Rangers lineup, but again, there's a lot of talent still in that Rangers lineup. Manaya against the Mariners, I still worry about the short start, the high-quality lineup in opposition. Charlie Morton, kind of similar to what I said about Bassett, just kind of priced like Charlie Morton, looks like Charlie Morton against the gettable Twins team. There's Joe Boyle right in the middle of the board. 54 on DraftKings obviously stands out. 2 spots later, Jack Perkins at 59 obviously stands out. 67 for Perkins on the FanDuel slate. The deciding factor between those two guys, like I said at the very beginning of the show, with the $1,000 price difference, has to be the fact that Joe Boyle's pitching in a pitcher's park and Perkins is pitching in an extreme hitter's park. But both guys are on the board for those cheap prices. In between, Luis Castillo, fairly priced, I would say. Diminished quality, lost a lot of strikeout stuff this year. Very good Mets lineup on the other side. Wouldn't shock me if he had a 30-plus point day and 15-plus on DraftKings. Wouldn't shock me if the Mets turned that around the other way, though. Giolito against Miami, usable, but I like that Miami lineup as a potentially contrarian spot. No faith in Brandon Pfaadt, but playable at Coors at 7,000 against that high strikeout Rockies lineup. Be weird if he was playing against the Guardians at Coors Field. Clay Kershaw, low-end opportunity, 77 on DraftKings, maybe in the mix for SP2 shares. Waldrop's interesting at 76, 72. There is upside there. There are some Ks available for him in that Guardians lineup. Not safe, but very, very playable from that spot. Alcantara, meh. Savali, meh. Palante, meh. And then we get into this just unplayable stretch. So it's a short, top-heavy kind of a board today, pitching-wise. Shea Langoliers is your home run pick of the day. Everything else is available for you up at rotoscouts.com. I'll be in the Discord, which is linked down there. You don't have to be a subscriber on YouTube, at the website, or anything to come join the community. So click that link. Just jump into the Discord. Hang out. If you got any questions, drop them in there. Let me go update these lineups. Let me go get those home run numbers fixed for us. See, I've already forgotten. The Angels. You guys absolutely rock out there. Best audience in the industry. Love it. Absolutely appreciate every single subscription, every like, every follow, et cetera, et cetera. Good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. Share those results when you do at rotoscouts on Twitter or in that free Discord. And we'll be back on Monday for shows, content through the weekend as usual. Later, gang.